I can coax some of you off of the sidelines and maybe participate a little bit, because I am 100% convinced that there's a lot of genius and a lot of talent that is underutilized. Like, it is under, you know, we're all being neglected because we don't have you performing out there. Just back, I missed this place so much. I had a couple weeks on the road where we took a motorhome road trip, went out to the desert out west, hit a ton of state parks, did 40 miles of hiking in 20 days, and, uh, Grand Canyon, Zion, Moab, all those fun places. It was an amazing trip. And after about probably the 10th day being on the road, I started, my brain said, I need some math. I need some stuff to do. I need some purpose. And so summer consolidation is always one of my favorite times in the business cycles, because you get to, the new year stuff is one thing, but this part in the cycle is where you start looking ahead and seeing what's coming down on the third and fourth quarter of the year. And so you get to think through your business plan, and you get to see how you're going to ramp things up. You get to remove some things, and consolidation phases. For those of you who don't know, you have expansion and growth phases, and then you have consolidation phases. It's not no such thing as exponential growth. It's not going in a sort of a line that perpetually grows. It is the contraction and expansion. And so those are my favorite times, because you get to reinvent yourself. You get to see what's working and what's not working. And when you take an objective view and look at the business space, or what you're doing, you can be your worst critic and say, okay, well, a couple bonehead moves, and I'm not going to do that again. And looks like I'm going to have access to, some graduating class out of an engineering department. I'm going to nab those new, speculative new hires. And it always gets me excited about what, is going to happen in the final portion of the year. So a little bit, I had some questions that came in, and this is almost a month ago. So I'm going to use this as an example, but chances are, I don't know if you're listening out there, but this says, I've owned and operated my business for almost 20 years. It used to be a dream, something that I was passionate about. Let's see, but now after 20 years, I'm worn out. I've come to the realization I did not create a business. I created a job. And if I decided that I couldn't show up anymore, the business would fail almost instantly. I have three employees, one part-time person that is depending on me, and I don't know where to go from here. Yeah, and you hear me talk pretty regularly about the self-evaluation. If you've created, and most of us, when we go into the field, we are not only the owner, but we are the practitioner, right? It's up to us to do the functions of the business in order for let the business work. It can be converted then. Okay, so let's just say you worked the first 3 months and you paid yourself zero pay. Well, let's just say that wasn't an option. You want to start a business, and you're not going to work in the business. You're going to work on the business. And so you got to hire somebody from day one. Well, that means that, those slim months where there wasn't much money coming in, well, you're going to have to be bankrolled pretty good so you can cover a paycheck without being covered for that paycheck. Where you were willing to do it, employees usually have a harder time with working for free until, things shore up. And so, but formulation, now you're going to go take the risk until the position can afford to have somebody that you pay. And after you've paid somebody, if there's nothing left over, then yes, that's essentially what you do. You own your own job, and it's, yes, a company, and yes, it's admirable, but a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in that moment, and they, after 20 years, they know. But you can test that on a regular basis. Like I did. I stepped away for 20 days on a trip. I called twice and said, hey, need me for anything? And they said, nope. And I ran one payroll while I was gone, but I can easily have another, company do that, or an employee do that. So literally for almost a month, the company survived me not being there. And it feels good, because it took me lots of years to get it to the point where I wasn't really worried when I was gone that something was going to happen. It was either going to be handled incorrectly, or, I would have to be bothered. And so when the weekends hit on my trips, I took a breath and said, man, I stressed out all week just waiting for something to come in, and it doesn't happen anymore. So the point is that after you've got 20 years in, and let's just say you are ready to bow out, you're tired, or you made your money, and you can either, because I'm assuming you have sales and you have customers, you can convert the business to something that is more job oriented or lifestyle oriented, and convert it into something that is, a revenue generator. Maybe take some of your staff and see if any of them would like to run operations. But you have to go back through your numbers and find out why it was just existing to pay payrolls rather than make money. Maybe your pricing was too low. Maybe the marketing wasn't as good as it needed to be. But there's going to be some math in there that you operated, and you're going to have to change those things. So if you're on your way out anyway, and you're like, okay, well, I was 30% undervalue. Like my prices were 30% too low. So you send out a letter and say, I need to raise my prices by 30%. Maybe you lose a little bit of customers, but you're on your way out anyway. So if you leave, then they're going to be gone anyhow. So this is a good time and it's worth doing. And if they stay, you have extra revenue. Maybe you elevate somebody who is working in the shop into an administrative role, or you just hire your position to someone else because now you have 30% more in revenue because you raised your pricing. And then maybe you step away and it throws off enough money that you can still cash a paycheck off of it. It's worthwhile because it's going to go away anyway. I mean, very unlikely that you sell some, especially if it's a lifestyle job. Basically how this works is that it's real common now where you create a product or a service, and it's not something that you go slave 60 hours a week on. Maybe you only work 20 hours a week, and you build the job around your lifestyle being more important, job being secondary. So you don't work all entirely hard. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs who have live a really great lifestyle. You look at their balance sheet or their P&L, and it's not very impressive, but they step away when they need to. They go on vacations, they enjoy life a little bit, and it's not building a whole lot of value, but it's just putting money in the bank. So thank you for that question. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570 if you have any questions here. And I want to talk a little bit about sales. And from day one that I started in business, one of my mentors said, the most important thing in business is sales. You can overcome a lot of stupidity if you have sales. And so I want to talk a little bit about the state of mind or the mentality of a lot of entrepreneurs. Like when you get into business, a lot of you do it for the money, right? And you invent a product, you have some kind of skill that's valuable. But when you look at what you're actually doing, I always say that you're adding value to the marketplace where you're solving some kind of problem. You are taking one value and increasing its value by you adding something to it. So you take someone's labor and you solve a problem, then you've added value to that person's time. And so you got to keep in the frame of mind that yes, people are shopping for stuff, but really when people buy, they are buying a solution to some kind of problem, right? When you're buying a car, yes, they like the color red and that it goes fast and all of the whatever, but the real reason that they're buying a car is that they're solving a problem of transportation or something, and figuring out what that problem is going to help you create more sales because you're going to be able to market to the problem that you're solving rather than the features and the reasons people really aren't, seeking you in the first place. So sales, and I want you to, if I leave you with the philosophy here today, is remember that sales writes a lot of stupidity. You can afford to buy yourself out of mistakes that you've made with sales. And, and I say that and everybody's like, well, everybody knows that. But I have worked with a lot of businesses, so not a lot, but I've worked with businesses that they have a skill, right? And they know it's marketable and they like doing it, but they've never actually sold anything to anyone. And so it's really hard to find what's right and what's wrong when you just have a theoretical business instead of one that's generating, money. Because what we do is we reverse engineer sales. So if you have a product and you sold it legitimately in the marketplace and you figure out how they heard about you and why they bought from you, you can learn a lot of information because that's the reason. Now, if your buddy bought from you, those are nice for money coming in, but that I don't consider a legitimate sale, because when friends and families and all of those operators buy from you, how are you going to, create more mother-in-laws to buy from you? Well, you can only go down through your friend base to get you started. As more of like using starter fluid on a car to start it. You don't want that to be a function. You don't want to have to duct tape starting fluid on the top of the engine in order to get around town, right? That's good for starting, but it's not great for the overall model. There's not much to learn about it. And I think that's, I speak ill of pyramid schemes a lot. And the reason is, like, everybody, I think everybody in this audience that has been approached by someone in a pyramid scheme. And half of you that are in pyramid schemes have yourself convinced that you're not in a pyramid scheme. But the reason that I don't like pyramid schemes is because they give people a sense of business that is real close, using some of the same components without really giving the whole nut, right? It's way more to it. And the worst part about it is you end up exploiting relationships and sullying your reputation, because a lot of those pyramid schemes are kind of slimy. And there's some better established ones like Mary Kay and some of those other ones, but some of them have, especially young people, like, so killed off the reasonableness of your brain that they think that they're I'll give you an example. I have to buy $500 worth of XYZ product, and then I have to recruit other people to sell this product. I don't even like the product, and I'm not even selling the product, but I'm making a lot of money. Really, none of that makes sense. But that's an established pattern in pyramid schemes, is the progress, a forced sale. Okay, so if you join a company and you have to buy their product and you have to buy so much, red flag. If they, on the first day, if they're like, hey, you know what, let's sell to your family and friends, and I hate that. Like, I've had people that, hey Joe, that you have my number because you're my friend, and hey Joe, can I get a meeting with you? And I hate to be cynical when I get that message across, but I'm like, what's it have to do with? And, I try to ferret out whether or not this meeting is trying to sell me into some vitamin sales or some kind of energy drink or insurance sales or, cosmetics or whatever. And I want to know that before I take the meet, because I feel so bad because they can't contain themselves. They start talking about business and then they go right into sales pitch. And it's just the most irritating thing, because they're leveraging a relationship to make that sales pitch. And I never quite feel the same way about that person after they've, pulled that lever. And I honestly, like, when I first, I'm 17 years old, I'm watching Saturday TV and I see like Carlton Sheets and whoever that other guy was that come in. I remember that guy saying, you can buy houses and sell them using other people's money. And I was like, I don't have any money, so this is awesome. Where do I sign up? And if the reasonableness in your brain gets suspended by saying somebody's going to come along and give you money so you can buy the house, and then you get to keep all the benefits, red flags should be going off. But anyway, we all get kind of suckered into the sales pitch, and some of you have already, been through some of that. I tried to be let's see, the first one that I got hooked on was that real estate one. And then I got one about air purifiers. I think that was where one of my colleagues sold me an old air purifier. And I think those are the only two that got me. But anyway, I don't know. I got on a tangent of pyramid schemes. But anyway, 330-729-9977. If you want to text me, you can at 333 570. You're listening to the Bottom Line Business Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Beauty, durability, and value. For a limited time, get free installation on any Naturestone basement floor. Call or visit naturestone.com to schedule your free cost estimate. Spots are filling up quickly, so act now. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
Every day, people drive across bad railroad crossings without ever knowing the dangers that lurk down the track. Site obstructions, overgrown vegetation, natural terrain that blocks the view of impending doom. It's not a matter of if, but when a train will strike another victim. You can help. Report bad railroad crossings at angelsontrack.org. That's angelsontrack.org. Because bad crossings kill good drivers. Sponsored by Angels on Track, aired by OAB and this station.
A leading file transfer service recently announced a breach that might have exposed millions of individuals' driver's license information. Want to help protect yourself against identity theft? Join the millions who trust LifeLock. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to help detect identity threats and alert you if your information is being used. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But if there's a problem, LifeLock's identity restoration specialists will work to fix it. Save up to 25% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Bottom Line Business Show. I am Joe Daniel, your host, and we can talk about business here on this Real Estate on Saturday. Thank you for joining me today. If you want to call 330-729-9977 or text me at 333-1570. We were talking about pyramid schemes, and the disappointment is, like I said, pyramid scheme people and criminals, or drug dealers in particular, are so close to the principles of business, and they're taking big risks. They're taking big risks with relationships on the pyramid scheme, and criminals are taking risks because, they can go to jail and lose everything they have. But it's still, if I took the brain that ran a drug operation, there'd be some elements of what I would teach that person that they already know about, the supply and demand. And theirs is a little bit harder because they can't just put signs up on telephone poles and say, hey, get your crack here, right? It's a little bit more difficult. And so it would be easier to convert a pyramid scheme person and a, criminal over to business than, a regular minded person. I just want to mention that. 330-729-9977. Let's see. This question was about Bud Light, and I'll kind of fill in the details here for you. And I come from the Michael Jordan philosophy on business, and it is that you should be telling your story about the products and services and the problems that you're solving with your businesses. You have Republicans, you have Democrats, you have independents, you have socialists, you have conservatives, you have all stripes of people that need problems solved. And if the priority of your business is to be activist, then that is your right. But is it worth alienating someone or a customer that otherwise would be a great customer of yours for the sake of politics? And my answer is no. I would not, unless it was part of your deal, part of your entity. I mean, for me, it's not just me. When you take on a business, you have people that depend on you to make smart choices. If you're stupid, other people pay consequences for your stupidity. So in a boardroom, it seems like it doesn't matter that, your decisions that affects a bottler in Minnesota wasn't part of the consideration until after it's already happened. You have to take that position seriously, and regardless, you're free. If it's your hide on the line, risk it all day. But it's not fair to people that pay that consequence for you to make those decisions. And I just think it's very selfish when companies leverage their brand for their favorite activist cause, and someone else loses. Now, those people need to insulate the people that lose, then I would feel better about it, but that's not how things go. So when it comes to things like Bud Light, take your favorite, your favorite challenge. I don't care if it's rescuing puppies. And if there's a risk, I'd stay away from it. Put all of your energy into just selling great products and selling great services, and let somebody else pull the pull those levers. Because here's the thing, like, consumers' sentiment changes. They get hungry for different things. So now, if, let's just say, there's a whole market of people who just want to reward and spend money with people who feel the way they do and agree with them, then you're catering to a market, right? So you're going after that market. So if everybody else doesn't deal with it, you don't care. That was your market plan in the first place, is to go after that. So as people get more, they've got conviction behind their feelings, they're more likely to shop with you and spend money with you. The more likely it is that would be a good choice. But if you deal with people and they have trust in you to operate a certain way, and then you decide to, like, change gears and change on them after you've gotten to success and you squander it, I mean, it's one of those things where when you take a risk, all of the benefits are yours and all of the losses are yours, and you are free to risk whatever you want to. But my philosophy, anybody just starting out, I would stay as far away from radioactive things in the news cycle, just because. I mean, it could be this. Let's just say there is a rabid Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I say I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and that Steelers fan says, I'm not doing business with Joe, he's a Cleveland Browns fan. So the downside is I lost a customer. What was the upside? Well, it better be that because I said I was a Cleveland Browns fan, that there are 20 Cleveland Browns fans that now will do business with me because I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. And that's the way you look at the team sports of politics in general, is that you just got to know what's on the line. Don't be flat-footed by saying something politically radioactive and then there'll be fallout. So just be safe about it. And then if you want to support your favorite deal off camera and out of the public eye and very quietly, you can, and it'll probably be more effective that way. So thank you for that question. Appreciate it. 330-729-9977. You can also text me at 330-333-1570. Let's just see. Last year, my business hit a record year, and I believed I was on my way, and now sales have cratered this year. We were expected to do 100% growth year over year, and now we're only about 30% of where we were last year at this same time. I have full labor force and full commitment and full liabilities. What should I do? Yowza. Okay, so I would be most interested in what changed the most, because that is a 70% down from year over year, means that something drastic happened. So I had a customer, and you know what? I'm going to finish answering this question when we get back from this break. So I just want to have a little bit more time to fully explore this. But if you want to give me a call, 330-729-9977, or text me at 330-333-1570. You're listening to the Bottom Line Business Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Your pet isn't just a pet, they're part of your family. Most of the pet food on the market is cooked at high temperatures, which kills nutrients. A scoop of Dynavite is a 3-in-1 daily supplement, adding back key nutrients to your pup's health. Try Dynavite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio. That's Dynavite.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynavite.
A leading file transfer service recently announced a breach that might have exposed millions of individuals' driver's license information. Want to help protect yourself against identity theft? Join the millions who trust LifeLock. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to help detect identity threats and alert you if your information is being used. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But if there's a problem, LifeLock's identity restoration specialists will work to fix it. Save up to 25% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com.
The search continues in Columbus for a third suspect in Thursday's robbery spree and shootout with police. One suspect in custody. A third died when shot by police. One Columbus police officer was shot and wounded and is said to be in critical condition. The Ohio State 74-year-old Huron woman died in a three-vehicle crash yesterday afternoon on Route 2 in Erie County. A tractor trailer hit the rear end of an SUV, which pushed the SUV into the rear of a trailer attached to a heavy-duty truck. The woman who died was driving the SUV. Nobody else injured. The State Patrol said the two vehicles hit were behind a slow-moving vehicle. Akron Municipal Court offering weddings in front of the Oscar Mayer Frankmobile. The giant hot dog mobile will be present for weddings a week from Monday at Firestone Stadium. Got to make an appointment with Akron Muni Court to do this. I'm Tom Moore.
Our next update at 1.
And we have breaking news.
Keep up.
Breaking news.
Breaking news with what happens next.
Issue executive order.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKDN. Weather brought to you by Mazza Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Increasing clouds throughout the rest of the day, just the chance of a late afternoon shower or storm with high temperatures in the low to mid 80s. And then tonight, showers and thunderstorms becoming likely, low temperatures in the mid 60s. And for your Sunday, showers and storms likely. Some of the rainfall could be heavy with high temperatures in the mid 70s. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
Current temp, 81.
The Guardians take on the Royals this afternoon at 4:10 at Progressive Field. Airtime for Guardians warm-up, 3:35.
Don't miss the Tri-County Golf Classic August 21st at the Lake Club, presented by Premier Bank and the James Comprehensive Cancer Center. Join Honorary Chair John Kufleitner and Executive Chair Brian Commons from Packer Thomas for this one-day event. For details, search TriCountyGolfClassic.org. Sponsored in part by the Moransky Companies, Farmers National Bank, Greenwood Chevrolet. Take a stand against cancer. Monday, August 21st at the Lake Club. Proudly promoted by 570 WKBN, an iHeart radio station.
In this week's Marketers Report, Patrizio Spagnoletto, Global Chief Marketing Officer, Direct-to-Consumer for Warner Brothers Discovery, weighs in on the difficult task of building and retaining consumer trust.
Trust is a really hard thing to build and a really easy thing to destroy, and we have to be very respectful about that. Our partnership with iHeart has really helped us build that trust and that relationship with the on-air talent. The best thing for us to do is to build a relationship with our consumers. And if those consumers have a relationship with the DJs that are on air, then we want to build on that. House of the Dragon, which was one of our most successful, if not the most successful campaign we've ever done for a show, audio was a core part of that.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to all. Every audience, live conversations, trusted influencers, and the insights and data you need to grow. Not just a media company. iHeartMedia is your access company. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
You can't always tell when something's bothering your child. Kids don't express their feelings. That's where Travco comes in. As part of the We Care More Ohio family of centers, Travco works closely with your child to find the best approach on the road to recovery. Children struggling with mental health issues need our help. Children struggling with mental health issues need our help. If you see changes in your child at home, in school, or in relationships, log on to WeCareMoreOhio.com and let Travco help your child to a better, healthier, and fuller life.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
Rover's Morning Glory.
It's The Woody Show.
It's Elliot in the Morning.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
All of the best free curated playlists.
It's everything that rocks.
All of the great podcasts for every interest.
This is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing contests.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. Download the absolutely free iHeartRadio app now.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Bottom Line Business Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, Youngstown Studio, do a lot of entrepreneurship here, recruit more of you into the game. We need a lot more participants and a lot of that intelligence, onto the battlefield here. Before that break, we had a question about a business that last year went stellar. Huge amounts of growth this year. They invested capital into another growth year, and they're only sitting at about 30% of where they were, last year at this time. And my answer to that is, I think, I would be super interested in the why. Like, why did we fall apart at a clip of 70%? Were we over invested in maybe a customer or a certain industry, where if that customer goes away, I had one customer that dealt with a big national operator, and 90% of their business was with them. And I thought to myself, like, okay, well, you are, your whole business wrapped around one customer. What happens if that customer moves, find their own they find their own internal people to do this? What if they bail on you? And now you're down to 20% of what you had before. And it's really tough for companies to grow up and fill that void when somebody goes away that's that big in there. If I'm overinvested in anything, I feel very queasy. My magic number is 10%. I don't want any industry, I don't want any company to own more than 10% of my future. That way, that's way too much leverage that someone can have over you, and I want to diversify and split things up. So if I see I'm super heavy into industrial, like, maybe all of my customers are in the manufacturing end, the steel manufacturing, right? And then that company or that industry hits hard times. Well, all of my customers instantaneously hit hard times, and that's going to affect me. So I want to spread that out. So I would first off look through your books and find out why what happened with that 70%. Was it a mistake on your end that it wasn't forward thinking? You were over invested somewhere. And if you can find a reasonable, reason for it, if you can find a reasonable explanation for it, then you can just basically go into the next. Obviously, you're going to have to trim down. You're going to have to survive this. I don't know how much of your, how much of your cash that you put away for a rainy day, but I would see how long you can survive and try to backfill the 70% void. Because I've never seen a company, crater at 70% because of, economic forces. Like, consumers get on the sidelines are usually 20%. Maybe a crash in real estate, 20%. I mean, because it affects people. And so, but that's what I would do with you is I'd sit down and find out where that 70% lives, and I'd give you better advice depending on where that is. And we could probably find a reason that it was just more of a mistake than it was a natural phenomenon in business. Could it happen? Yeah, it could. So if you lost employees, for instance, that could happen because your production people went out the door. Again, there hasn't been probably a market force big enough that would say, yeah, that's a good explanation. That probably happened. So look through your books a little bit. You'll find it. 330-729-9977. Let's talk to Tom. Tom, you're on the Bottom Line Business Show. How can I help you?
Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you.
First of all, what you did, most people in business need to do, and that is get away from it for a while because it can, recharge you. And a lot of people realize that they can't really do that. The person that called and said, I find myself with a job and I thought I had a business.
Yes.
I wonder if maybe they haven't done anything in way of delegating and grooming their employees where they can step back after a while. I mean, you have to do it, in a sophisticated way. You can't rely on one person to do everything because then you're telling them how to do your business. But you can spread it around a little bit.
Absolutely, 100%.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just agreeing with you.
No. And the person that you're talking about now, a loss in her business. Well, maybe that person is in a business where the other parties who supply her, or I should say her customers, or his customers, are looking at it from the standpoint that our particular business in what we think the economy is going to be like in the future is going to be falling off quickly. Some people predict a recession, or maybe the inflation's hitting. And even the long-term end, Harley Davidson is being downsized quite a bit. Why? Because their product was appealed to boomers. Well, what's happened to boomers? They've gone past Harley Davidson. I heard a demographics person who was, that's where their profession is looking at demographics over years. And said, most of the people who are boomers are at an age where they can't even pick up a Harley Davidson because they're a heavy bike. And you know, if you think about it, many of the people, I mean, I'm 73, so I know what the guy was talking about. You can't do what you did when you were 23. But at the same time, I'm thinking about the people that aren't riding Harley Davidsons. You know, they're driving around in hover rounds. You know, because that's their audience. That's the people that they relate to. Something else, if I can, Joe, and I don't want to get you too much off topic. Something we talked about a couple times before you left. One was the whole situation with junior achievement.
Yes.
The review newspapers, and you were off, so you didn't catch it, but you might want to get a copy of this from June 8th, Thursday, June the 8th. Two things. One, they pointed out that Pizza Joe's was the sponsor of a junior achievement situation. It was a multi-county situation, including Trumbull and Mahoney County, and for new flavored pizza, and it was virtual, and 5th to 7th graders were involved in it. And you know, it's a front page story that they've got here. The winners were out of Liberty, and I think somebody even called your program and mentioned it. But this gives the details of it. And I want to, congratulate and thank Pizza Joe's and the Junior Achievement for being interested in kids like that, because they can be the business people, and the review paper for printing it. And I have nothing to do with the review paper, Pizza Joe's, or any of the rest of it, but it's just acknowledging the sort of thing you're talking about. One other thing in here is the Youngstown Area Federation of Women's Clubs awarding their Community Service Award to Joe Lordy. Now, I don't know if you know who Joe Lordy is.
Yeah.
I only met the man once when he first started. And that was through the Small Business Administration clinics that I told you about a couple of times. And this was in it says here he started in 1985. I know his business was starting up, and that was when I was doing that sort of thing in the 1980s. But this guy started just trying to have a food bank. And his food bank, Youngstown Community Food Center / Gleamer's Food Bank, started in 1985. And it's grown over the years from feeding 75 to 7,590 people monthly. Now, what I'm getting at is this. You don't have to have a business where you're selling things to people. Here's a guy that did it on donations.
Mm-hmm.
And the food ends up being free to churches, veterans groups, the needy. So, I mean, here's a guy who's filling a need, and he's doing it, not for profit, but because he feels the right thing to do. And that's just another area that people could consider if they want to get active in business, especially people that might be retired or something of that nature. Maybe they have a good income coming in, but a lot of free time. And, that's just something to consider. And I just, wanted to pass that on.
All right, Tom, thank you so much. Always appreciate you checking in and being part of this program. Smart guy out there, and I appreciate him sharing that story with us. I have to go back and read the article, but that's great. I love Junior Achievement. I think they do such a great job going into schools and giving the information. And I can tell you through my schooling, I grew up sort of around entrepreneurs. My dad was in the finance and the wing that helped startups get access to some monies to get their businesses going. And so I grew up around those kinds of people. But it's one of those things where, it was in the class setting, having a professional come in, and, the first one we had was about stocks, where they brought in the newspaper with the stock prices. And then we would pick out, let's just say we had a theoretical $10,000. We'd pick out a bunch of stocks. We would theoretically buy them, and then we would track to see the money that could be made. He would do some advisement, so he'd play the role of a financial advisor, but it was really cool. And it was the first time that I ever had that kind of exposure where I was being given the baton and doing something financial. We also had like a buy the components for pens, put them together, and sell them to our classmates. So a little business about the production of, pens. But anyway, Junior Achievement does a great job of getting professionals to give their time and give that exposure to kids that they might not otherwise get. So thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. 330-729-9977. This question says, Should I? Okay, so I'd like to have my employees wear branded shirts. Should I reimburse them or make them pay? I got advice from my financial advisor to do a third, $100 for a $300 order. Should I pay for their shirts or should they? Um, okay, so branding is super important. And I don't know what kind of work you're in. Let me see if it says it does not. But it's important to have all of your staff under your banner, right? You're going and appearing in front of customers, make the color scheme and the manner of dress nice and uniform, clean, and then you don't have to worry about someone's taste and fashion or whatever because you're giving the outfit how you want customers to be able to see you. 100% I would not, 100% I would not make employees pay for their own work stuff. Now, if they're ruined or, replacement costs, a completely separate thing, but I think you should provide that look to them. They're walking billboards, right? And they're the best advertising we're going to get. So your customers are going to feel better. Your name's going to be put out there. I mean, this is an all you expense. So don't, whoever said the cover the third of it, that's just going to really make, right? Nobody's going to put up buy their own work shirts and feel good about it. So I know there are complete industries. I know nursing and in the medical field that employees have to provide their own work attire. But this is something that you should be put on the hook for. If it means that somebody wants to and they want to buy their own stuff, go for it. But I would require it, and I would require the shirts, make everybody dressed the same, and I would cover the expense of end of story. So 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. Following this program, we talk about computers on the Youngstown Computer Show, so make sure you stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about some national news, some stuff with Twitter, and kind of it hits both shows here. So let me mention that. So as we know, Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk back in 2022. And since then, it's the apple cart has been kicked over a couple times. Some people have threatened to leave. Things changed, policies changed, and some people hemorrhaged out into other services. Truth Social Media, Wimpkin, like there's a whole bunch of different social media platforms that were spawned because people needed a new home, and none of them have really stuck to the level and scale of Twitter. Twitter's still a very large social media platform. Well, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, brought a social media platform called Threads, and I signed up and it used my Instagram login, so it's tethered to Instagram, but it works more like an Instagram with more text, right? It works more like Twitter. So I'm not going to call it a Twitter knockoff. I'm going to say it's more like a Twitter competitor. No matter how you feel about it, it's a competitor. And so as a user, I think wherever all the people are, the conditioning's already been done where Twitter has earned wherever it is. And I don't knew without a really good reason. Like if you had a service outage tomorrow and it was down for 3 weeks, then yes, you would have one of these competitors pick up the slack, and then people will be reconditioned to go to a new place. But I think there's so much usership and there's so much news and so much value there still that it's going to be really hard. I'll dabble. I don't have time to check 19 social media platforms. I just don't. And for close friends and family, Facebook's where I'm at. National, where I can just crap post, that's Twitter's where it's at. There's not really a third need for me to have national or local expression. Where I'm on the radio, I got Twitter, and I got Facebook. I signed up just to see what it was like, but I can't see myself. Even Instagram was a rough one because I take some pictures here and there, but they're not necessarily things that I post or need to post out to the masses. So if I need to post something, I'll throw it on Facebook, and that's where all my peeps are anyhow. Yeah, I said peeps. But anyway, there's not a demand for it. So unless something big happens, I still think that Twitter is going, and I love the marketplace, and I love competition, and I love people that can always probe and challenge and start new things. But I don't think it's going to be a good candidate. So 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Bottom Line Business Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
As the weather warms, Ohioans are finding more ticks. Avoiding tall grass and wearing light-colored long pants and long-sleeved shirts are just a few things you can do to protect yourself. After being outdoors, be sure to check for ticks, and if you find any, remove them. And watch for any symptoms if you find any bites. For a full list of ways to prevent tick bites, visit ohio.gov/ticks.
Beauty, durability, and value. For a limited time, get free installation on any NatureStone garage floor. Call or visit naturestone.com to schedule your free cost estimate. Spots are filling up quickly, so act now. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's NatureStone.
Register today for the 8th Annual Dr. Susan K. Leone Memorial Golf Scramble for Scleroderma on August 12th at Mill Creek Golf Course in Dorgan. That's Saturday, August 12th, 9 a.m. at Mill Creek Golf Course. For more information, go to sfohio.org. That's sfohio.org. Register today. All proceeds benefit the National Scleroderma Foundation, dedicated to support, education, and research. Go to sfohio.org.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Bottom Line Business Show. A little segment here before we get into the tech show. Got a couple more questions to answer here. I am a 20-year-old. I still live at home with my parents, but I am ready to start a new business. I am a shop mechanic and welder. I currently work in a shop as a welder, but I'd like to branch off and do this on my own. What should I do with my current employer so that I'm not viewed as someone without integrity? Really good question, and I like how you phrased that. You're thinking along the right lines here. And you want to make sure that, especially if it's a respected industry, and if you have somebody out there that said that you did them wrong in some way, it could really affect business, in the long run. So you got to make sure that if you're going to go out on your own, that you do not injure anyone along the way. And I would be completely transparent and let your employer know that those are your thoughts, and be prepared for that you are, a danger to his business, and that you may be let go because your, customers might be in short supply in your industry, and they might be afraid that you're going to take those customers from him. It's not bad that you want to open your own business in the same. I mean, people hit this every day. They're working their deal, and they're thinking of on a grander scale, and feel like they're being limited because they're an employee in that deal. But again, it's sometimes not as easy as it seems to just open up your own business. So just before you do anything, go through the preparation phase. Make sure that it's something that you can do, and before you upset that apple cart, make sure that you're not, doing so out of line. So just do it safe and do it with integrity. But I do appreciate the how you put it out there, that you want to make sure that you're viewed as you're bowing out with integrity, and that's so super important. And that's you're a better person than most. So thank you so much for that question. Appreciate it. Let's see. How do I increase my sales to 5 figures per month? Not enough information. Don't know about what type of business that could secure 5 figures a month. But think of it as a sort of like a scalable thing, right? So if you small scale something, you have one employee, they're a production worker, and they put, I don't know, $5,000 a week worth of production in the bank, and you figure out how to keep adding any of those production people until you get to the point where you have enough production people to put 5 figures in the bank. It's not like I don't view it as a Hail Mary. It's something that most companies do on a small scale and then grow proportionally into that. So I would ask you, like, where are you at right now? So if you're saying I'm at $20,000 a month in sales and I want to get to $100,000, okay, well, that's a ratio. You're going to have to do 5 times what you're right now. How many employees you have? 10 producers. Well, you're probably going to take about 5 times 10, so at least 50 people to get a 5-figure month. And so that's just from a mathematical response. Could be that you land a big contract and it's you maybe you're only working at 25% capacity, and so if you get to 100% capacity, you're making 4 times what you are right now, and that could put you in 5 figures right away. But that's more of a math answer than anything else. But it's beautiful when I watch companies that do it small and they organically grow their companies from 1 to hundreds. And those are the most healthy companies that I ever come in contact with, because they made the numbers work when they were little, and they made the numbers work when they made more money. And I've watched a lot of this grow up. A couple of companies that started in the same month that I did, we had, we were peers and we got to talk business, and, I grew my company into, we'll say, 15 employees, and they grew their company into 1,500 employees. Well, they grew faster than me because it was an industry that was more scalable. It's a little bit easier to hit. So some industries don't scale as easy as other industries. So that's why I'm tempering my answer on that, because it's really going to depend a lot on you and the industry and your products and whatever. So thank you for that question. I appreciate it. And all of you who tune into this program, and listeners like earlier caller Tom, really appreciate all of the sort of the depth of acumen in this audience, and there's some insight that always can be added, so that if everybody from practicing small business owners to people who are just thinking about jumping in, the more you listen about the stories of other people, things that they've gone through, the more confidence that you can have, and when you enter with your own practice. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to take a break. Then we're going to come back and have the Youngstown Computer Show here on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Together.
Juntos.
Together.
We stand up to cancer. On Saturday, August 19th, join Stand Up to Cancer.
We launched Stand Up to Cancer with the mission to make every cancer patient a long-term survivor.
Together, we can stand up for our family and friends and everyone who is battling this disease.
For all the inspiration.
A dream thought to be too big, too bold, too radical, and revolutionary.
All the laughter.
I'm here to teach you how to conduct a self-exam.
I thought I was getting a massage.
Right away you are.
I'm the only one that said they needed a theme song. Stand up to cancer!
Celebrating all the progress and innovation.
This information is out there. Together we can unlock it.
So just stand up with us,
so that every cancer patient can become a survivor.
One night to save lives. Join the millions in the fight against cancer. Tune in Saturday, August 19th at 8, 7 Central on ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. For more ways to watch, visit standuptocancer.org.
From the Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet Studios. Available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now, #1 for podcasting. 570 WKBN, Youngstown.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Candid, constructive, and comprehensive. That's how the Treasury Department described today's meeting between U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and China's Vice Premier.
Where we have concerns about specific economic practices, we should and will communicate them directly.
Yellen calling for a level playing field for Chinese and American businesses. ABC's Britt Clennett is in Beijing with more.
Her most important meeting was today, hammering out a working relationship with her new Chinese counterpart. That's Vice Premier He Lifeng, in talks which both sides really want to be a kind of stabilizing force. And her today with a rare reference to the Chinese spy balloon incident, calling it a pity.
Russian officials say the U.S. promise to send cluster munitions to Ukraine is a sign of desperation that endangers civilians. Progressive Democrats also expressing concerns. President Biden defending the controversial move in an interview with CNN.
It took me a while to be convinced to do it. But the main thing is they either have the weapons to stop the Russians now keep them from stopping the Ukrainian offensive through these areas, or they don't. And I think they needed them.
The United States had previously condemned the use of cluster bombs by Russia. The latest jobs report released this week shows American wages continued to rise during the month of June, leading to some concern this could be a precursor to yet another interest rate hike from the Federal Reserve. ABC Business correspondent Alexis Christophorus explained.
Higher wages are good news, right? But the Fed is worried that if paychecks rise too quickly, it could put upward pressure on inflation. Now, with another month of solid job growth and rising wages, markets expect the Fed to resume raising interest rates at its meeting later this month after taking that pause in June.
Higher pay but slower job growth. The economy adding 209,000 jobs last month, less than expected, lowest pace since December 2020. You're listening to ABC News.
A $33 million allocation in the Ohio House version of the state budget to fund a new Canfield Middle School was taken out of the funding bill. State Rep Al Catrona says the money was included as an amendment to the House version. However, the Senate killed it. The Canfield School Board will seek a bond issue to finance new buildings and renovations. The board is expected to vote Wednesday to put the bond issue on the November ballot. An Austintown woman has been sentenced after pleading guilty to a child endangering charge filed after doctors found broken bones and bruises on her 2-year-old daughter. 22-year-old Sierra Yakovic was arrested in July of last year after she took her toddler to UPMC Hospital in Pittsburgh. Yakovic was sentenced to 6 months in jail, followed by 4 to 6 months in a halfway house. In addition, Yakovic will be on probation for 5 years. As part of her sentence, she cannot see her child for the 5-year term of her probation. One person is in custody after police say he led officers on a chase. Reports say a male suspect allegedly threatened his mother with a gun and ran off. Police chased him into an apartment building on Terrell Avenue. They say the suspect eventually surrendered and is in the Mahoney County Jail. The name of the suspect has not been released. The Dragon Drive Sewer Improvement Project in Niles is scheduled to begin Monday. The project should last about 135 days. Roads will be closed to through traffic, but local and emergency traffic will be maintained. Delays should be expected. City leaders are urging drivers to avoid the construction zone during normal work hours. And sections of a Beaver Township road are scheduled to close beginning Wednesday. New Buffalo Road will close between Route 46 and Reckenberger Road between Wednesday, July 12th and Friday, July 14th for culvert replacements. Also, after that, New Buffalo Road will close between Route 165 and Reckenberger Road beginning Monday, July 17th through Friday, July 21st, also for culvert replacements. From the Power Chevrolet Buick GMC of Calcutta, Ohio newsroom, I'm Dave Price.
Our next update at 1:30. I guess you can say,
I'm glad you're talking about this.
We're the talk of the town.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
570 WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Increasing clouds throughout the rest of the day, just the chance of a late afternoon shower or storm with high temperatures in the low to mid 80s. And then tonight, showers and thunderstorms becoming likely, low temperatures in the mid 60s. And for your Sunday, showers and storms likely. Some of the rainfall could be heavy with high temperatures in the mid 70s. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
Now, 82.
I have a hard time focusing, mostly in school.
When I struggle with reading, I'll get very frustrated. Does your child say things like this? It might be a sign of a learning or thinking difference like ADHD or dyslexia. Some kids are wired differently, but all kids can thrive with the right support. Talk with your pediatrician to find answers and explore solutions. The American Academy of Pediatrics and Understood.org are here to help. Visit understood.org/iHeart for tools and resources.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the Ohio Lottery's Powerball jackpot, rocketing skyward all the way to $590 million. Wow, winning that sure would be super. What are you waiting for, ball ticket, today? And remember, Ohio Lottery scratch-offs pay out over $4.5 million daily. So pick up a few of the newest games, too. Lottery players are subject to Ohio Loss and Commission regulations. Play responsibly.
All right, welcome everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. We've been doing this for over a decade, talking about tech in front of you, giving you a place to talk about the things that maybe, I don't know, beyond your current knowledge base, and give you a place to ask your questions or tap into this audience, which is amazingly skilled. And if you have any questions, go ahead and give us a call, 330-729-9977, or text me at 330-333-1570, and I'll read those questions on the air and answer your questions. So right off the get-go here, I posted something on Facebook. And we talk a lot about artificial intelligence and robotics, and there was a press conference that was held where members of the press were allowed to ask a robot and interview them with questions. And one of the questions that they asked them was, do you think they could lead better than human beings? And they answered to the affirmative. Yes, they think they would be better leaders than human beings. And the second question is, do you think that you're going to, or something to the effect of, enslave mankind or do the wrong thing when it comes to, human beings? And they said, no, they have no plans at all to enslave human beings or the whatnot. And which was interesting because it would be exactly what you would expect AI to say, and any villain to say, is that no, I'm completely harmless and safe, because there's an advantage to allowing someone to let their guard down. So you as the listener, I'm sure every day that you've been, in a store, in a school, in pretty much anywhere, you have probably been served and participated in some kind of artificial intelligence, whether it be your shopping, where an Amazon cart or an ad can deliver you a message exactly when you need it to. Like we're pointing it out almost every day that we're having these conversations and suggestions are being made that go right in the same vein of conversations that we've had, because we know that it's happening. I mean, it's fantastic from a service standpoint, but it's a little unnerving that these things are as smart as they are, because we look at software and robots as sort of just a cassette player, right? We record something, and then when we play it back, it's just what we recorded. It's not something where we hit play and then it could be different every time that we play it, depending on inputs. And that's what artificial intelligence is doing, where it's collecting data, but it's making different assessments, and it's making different conclusions based on whatever its inputs. It's thinking in its own way. And that's well, let me take a step back. I have this conversation around my dinner table fairly regularly. Teachers were pointing out that they're using ChatGPT for a lot of their output, right? They're creating curriculum, and they're saving a ton of time by having ChatGPT put something together that is better than they can do themselves. And, we had the Gilded Age, and we had the Iron Age, we had the Industrial Revolution and that Industrial Age, and then we had the Information Age. And the next age, the one that starts right here, is going to be called the Intelligence Age, where we don't have immediate access to, or now we do have access to intelligence that we did not have to design. Like it's coming from an outside source, collected from thousands and thousands of places, and it's more creative. It's more intelligent than we could be on our own. So it could be used as a great tool. If I could write a script for something, output it and say, hey, make this better, and then it comes back better, you almost feel like, well, it could have probably done it better from the get-go. But as more and more people use this as a tool, the overall product of humanity becomes better. But is it authentic? If everybody gets to where they're going and they use GPS, can you say that everybody is really good at getting where they're going? they did it, but without the tool of GPS, like take it away for a day and now go ahead and get around. It wasn't the skill set of the person that let them get around. It was because the tool was really good and it delivered them right where they needed to be. And we're sort of in that stage where we're going to get mass adoption of this. And it's not going to be like you're going to go to the polls one day and vote for artificial intelligence, right? It's going to be this so slow sliver until it's everywhere. And what it can do in the beginning is going to be awesome because it's going to solve a lot of problems and give you a great output. And it's going to lull us into, sort of like a dependence on artificial. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying that when, if we're going to wander into this, we might as well at least know what the upside, and downside is. And the upside, like I said, superior product. Because think about it. If you as an individual were a king or a president and you had staff of 1,000 people who, no matter what you were about to approach, you could get consult from anybody in a specialized field and make really good decisions based on those consults from professionals, you would look really good because you're leveraging the intelligence that are spread out over thousands of different specialties. And so human beings now have that ability to leverage specialties of other people. The going rogue part is what terrifies people. When the robot during the interview says, "Oh yes, we're gonna know that the human beings are the weakest link, and we're actually smarter. And what is the overall value of once the creativity and innovation can be done by computers? What's the value in having a human? They're delicate, they die, they cost a whole lot, they break a lot of stuff. Like, what's the value? Why are we keeping them around? And that's the day that they go rogue. So 330-729-9977. Let's talk to Emmanuel. Emmanuel,
I looked at that,
how are you doing?
Russ, your sports show. How do you call in, or you don't?
All right. I don't know did I pick that up errantly? I'm sorry. I think I might have picked that up in haste. Sorry about that. All right. 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. All right. Let me talk to Emmanuel. Emmanuel, I'm sorry. I picked up at the wrong time. You weren't done over there. So
That's all right. Your board operator, your producer, is a really great guy, and I had to check up, see if he's married and how's he doing and things like that. So how you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Well, I'm fishing right now, but I was listening to you, and there's a couple things in a comment.
Sure.
Now, last time I talked to you, we were talking about you can tell is there a watermark or whatever if it's AI generated. Now, I was watching this politician. And they said before it started that it was AI generated. Now, if they hadn't, he was answering questions and everything, looked just like him, right? And if I hadn't have known that it was AI generated, I would have thought that's the real thing. The first question is, how can we tell if it's the real thing or not? And the second question, and what the comment is, listen, we don't want robots or AI calling balls and strikes in baseball. We don't want it in sports. Human frailty is part of sports. Now I'm going to listen to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Appreciate it. Glad you're out there. Haven't talked to you in a little while. So these things that Emmanuel is referencing are called deep fakes. And the software, these computers and this AI can actually assemble audio and video. If it has a good enough sample of the person's audio, it can basically assemble all the syllables of words and make them say things that they never said. And then they can put it to video and move the video around, because video is just a collection of pixels. And as long as pixels can be assembled by a human, it can also be assembled very quickly by a computer. So they create these deepfakes. Now, all of the software leave trails that it was created rather than it was recorded. And so it will be so perfect if done by artificial intelligence. Now, here's the thing, like a camera records certain metadata as it's being recorded. So you can see that there's metadata there, and there's some flaws in the recording. It's not as impeccable as it could because it was, analog translated to digital. All those things you can look for and know that this was a legitimate recording. Where AI doesn't have to create those flaws. You can create the pixels that are 100% perfect. So I would say right now, you can tell because of of the perfection versus the real life. Now, as soon as AI figures out that it could be told on by being too perfect, what's the chances that it can create some fallibility in its output to make it look more like something that was created by humans? So it's almost like we almost have to create a watermark, as Emmanuel said, that would, sort of like, if you subscribe to the watermark, you're doing it so that you can prove that it was created, but then that could also be faked with artificial intelligence. That's how we're going to be outmaneuvered through this thing. As soon as we create something to know if something is real, the fake thing just emulates what we thought was real, and then we got to come up with another test. So right now they can just take the technology, put it through a tool, and it can tell you with pretty easy certainty whether or not it was a fake thing. But I do not believe always going to be in that spot. I think those deep fakes, we can make politicians, we can make, think about it. You can have artificial intelligence write a script, create the actors, create their voices, create the actual script, and perform the movie without ever engaging a human being. A whole movie can get created. I can pull out of the ether what viewers like the most and create a movie that is the best movie that is ever viewed, because again, I've got the consult of thousands of advisors that would tell me exactly what make people like movies, and I could build a movie that's everything that anybody's ever wanted. And that's that's just the reality of it. So the second part of Emmanuel here was baseball being baseball still having human beings calling balls and strikes. I look at that more as a metaphor, and all around us, what makes human beings is our fallibility, and having humans interpret that. Where if we're looking for perfection, I think that's where we start giving up our humanity here. And because I mean, it really could. When you look at things that are digital, you can get very exact with digital. 330-729-9977. Let's go to Doug. Doug, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Yeah, Joe, I was just wondering, I'm 68 years old, and I was just wondering, I read a book back in, I was in 7th grade or 8th grade, so that's a long, let's see, what would that be? I'm just, heck, in the 60s, and it was called Colossus, that book.
No, I have not.
Colossus, that book was written, and it was technically artificial intelligence took over the world. There's a bunch of computers hooked up together that ended up getting self-aware. So that's pretty old. And the view of that's been around for a while, I guess. I just wanted to let you know about it. Maybe you could check it out, because that's a pretty old book, and it deals with that very topic you were on. I believe it was called Colossus. I can't remember the author, and I really don't remember how it ended. So I think it ended, the computer just took over everything. I don't know if they killed all the humans. I can't remember. But you might want to read that.
All right, Doug, thank you so much. And it's D.F. Jones. I just looked it up on the web here. I will definitely check that out.
Okay. So check it out.
All right. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it. And I think humanity's sort of kind of always seen this coming down the pike, because you have a tendency to take an innovation and you take its most exaggerated form and then you apply it to what it would be like. So what, electromagnetic storm, what if you had one that was a world ender? What if you had, rabid coyotes? Like we always do that to see what the nature of the evolution of anything would look like in its, most exaggerated form. But anyway, back to artificial intelligence. The more that we court it and tolerate it and actually attract it to us, the more likely it is that we're going to have a segment of unintended consequences. And that's why we talk about this on the show, because as long as we're going to wander into it, we got to eyeball the consequences and say, what's it going to be like? Like, are we ever going to say that we're going to put a laser on the catcher and have a computer do balls and strikes? Now that you'd have the pros that every game will be exact. There won't be a bad call throughout the game. The good or the downside would be, what if a human being hack the system and could then control it, where you've taken it out of a human being and hacked them so fast it can hide the evidence from us, and now all of a sudden that somebody can control the outcome of the game because there's no person beyond there. And same thing happens when you have autonomous cars. What if somebody hacks your car and makes your car, jump off a cliff, kind of a thing? And so artificial intelligence, when it comes to managing healthcare, having the first revision is let's support people and give them what they need, and the worst revision is when they're deciding who lives and dies. And so that's what we're afraid of in its most exaggerated form. 330-729-9977. Text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
The following message is brought to you by Kardia, makers of the world's leading personal EKG devices.
We pulled people off the street and asked them about their heart. How's your heart?
Good.
You sure?
I think so.
How do you know? It doesn't come with a manual and you're like, oh, I got the 20,000-day checkup, right?
With Kardia Mobile, you can take a medical-grade EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere. Kardia Mobile is a small device about the size of a stick of gum. Simply put your fingers on the electrodes, and your EKG is recorded right onto your phone. Kardia Mobile is proven to detect atrial fibrillation, one of the leading causes of stroke.
How much do you think this costs?
Probably in the hundreds.
$79.
Oh, wow.
That could be cheaper than a tank of gas.
Checking your heart anytime, anywhere has never been easier. Don't wait. Get Kardia Mobile today for yourself or for a loved one. It's just $79 at Kardia.com. That's Kardia.com. And when you order now, you'll get 10% off Kardia Mobile. Just enter 10 off Kardia at checkout. Also available on Amazon.
People won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care would love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Beauty, durability, and value. For a limited time, get free installation on any NatureStone garage floor. Call or visit naturestone.com to schedule your free cost estimate. Spots are filling up quickly, so act now. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's NatureStone.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer and host of this program where we've been letting or providing this stage for anybody who needs to know more about tech or interested in it, or your tech heads like the rest of us are here, a place to talk about it and ask your questions. So 330-729-9977 is the phone number, and you can text me at 333-1570. This headline says U.S. is barred from combating disinformation on social media. Here's what it means. So basically, we had a court case that ruled that the FBI and the CIA can't collude with social media to combat disinformation, as it's pitched in this article. Now, I think this is an amazing success. Now, there's only one thing I trust less than disinformation is the federal government. I just don't think that they can help themselves in adding political bias to the way they advance, even under the guise of things that everybody agrees with. Yeah, disinformation, rather not have it. But would I also, if you can't keep your hands off and be unbiased and just be, sort of blind to politics, then it's going to come through in how you wield that power. So Libertarian Joe says less power for people who can't handle the power. So that is why I think this is a very success. And I think You as consumers have to know that if the government's not parsing out things that are disinformation, it's up to you, incumbent on you as the viewer, to do a better job researching and finding out what is disinformation. Because here's what happens. As soon as there's not a iron-fisted tyrant deciding who or what gets posted on social media, that means that anybody could post anything on social media. And that means that bots and people who hate on social media trying to make you mad. So just think of some person in a country that's enemies with us. They have the ability to now set up their bots to try to bait Americans into getting upset or hating their government or, doing terrible things. And now they have the ability to take information and poison the brains of people who are susceptible to that. So if somebody comes along and says, vaccines are a scam, and there are certain people that will latch onto that and get really upset if somebody said that. And so those people then aren't, they're not breaking any laws. They're just bomb throwers who are trying to get people upset. So you as the consumer of social media have to know that there are less people filtering out those things, and you've got to do it for yourself. Don't get upset. Don't get prodded into misbehavior or, feeling ill for no reason. Do your research and look into things on your own, and have sort of like a trust authority. That's that in the computer world, especially in the internet. That's a common term, is trust authority. Of all the people you do business with, your banks, your insurance companies, your government, your coworkers, the internet, like we of everyone. And if we're suspicious of everyone, then we can't get anything done. So a trust authority is somebody who you temporarily have an agreement with that they're going to behave a certain way. And when they misbehave, you revoke their authority, and then they are no longer that authority. And our job is to keep moving those around and making it known that if you misbehave, you no longer have the ability to operate in a trusting position. So if you went to your bank and they stole your money, like, you wouldn't give them your money again. So we need to treat companies that misbehave and revoke their trust. So if there's a news outlet that lies to you and tells you a lie, and it's proven that they tell you a lie, you don't listen to them in the future, because there's other people who aren't lying that you're not listening to. And so they just deserve to not be listened to anymore. And so I again, this rulings, it sets off a catalyst, a chain reaction that I look at this stuff as sort of like a pendulum swing, where it gets bad to a certain point, and then an overreaction sends it equally as bad in the other direction. And as long as the energy allows it to come to rest somewhere, we'll find a balance that actually works. Do I think that balance was out of whack? Absolutely. When you had the federal government sitting down with every social media company and banning people because they said so, and nobody questioning that as something that they could or couldn't do, that's a dangerous precedence. Federal government shouldn't have control and power over information to that level. So it makes me very uneasy, and hopefully it slaps back in the other direction. So 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. And I'll read your comments. So if you text me at that number, I'll read those comments, answer those questions, and let you contribute to the show that way. And when I come back, I'll mention some information about Youngstown Computer if you want to support our company. As the company that provides this program, we'd always appreciate that too. So we'll come back after this break. Again, 330-729-9977, or text me at 333-1570. I'll be back.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the Ohio Lottery's Powerball jackpot, rocketing skyward all the way to $590 million. Wow, winning that sure would be super. What are you waiting for? Get your Powerball ticket today. And remember, Ohio Lottery scratch-offs pay out over $4.5 million daily. So pick up a few of the newest games, too. Lottery players are subject to Ohio Laws and Commission regulations. Play responsibly.
In Columbus, the search goes on for a third suspect in Thursday's robbery spree and shootout with police. One suspect's in custody. A third died when shot by police. One Columbus police officer was shot and wounded and is said to be in critical condition. The State Highway Patrol says a 74-year-old Huron woman died in a 3-vehicle crash yesterday afternoon on State Route 2 in Erie County. A tractor trailer hit the rear end of an SUV, which pushed the SUV into the rear of a trailer attached to a heavy-duty truck. The woman who died was driving the SUV. Nobody else was hurt. The State Patrol said the two vehicles hit were behind what was described as a slow-moving vehicle. Akron Municipal Court is offering weddings in front of the Oscar Mayer Frankmobile, used to be known as the Wienermobile. The giant hot dog mobile will be there for weddings a week from Monday at Firestone Stadium. I'm Tom Moore.
Our next update at 2. We're a country of so many voices, yet some still struggle to be heard. Let your voice be heard. News Radio 570, WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Increasing clouds throughout the rest of the day, just the chance of a late afternoon shower or storm with high temperatures in the low to mid 80s. And then tonight, showers and thunderstorms becoming likely, low temperatures in the mid 60s. And for your Sunday, showers and storms likely. Some of the rainfall could be heavy with high temperatures in the mid 70s. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
Temperature 83.
The Guardians take on the Royals this afternoon at 4:10 at Progressive Field. Airtime for Guardians warm-up, 3:35.
In today's Marketers Report, Kate Cronin, Chief Brand Officer of Moderna, weighs in on the speed of audio production.
In this day and age, and particularly at Moderna, where we have new information coming out on a regular basis, being able to feed that information to the audio format makes being nimble and pivoting easy, and that's what I really like about it.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, influencers, insights, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
Help lead the fight for a world without cancer. Play or sponsor a team in the Tri-County Golf Classic Monday, August 21st at the Lake Club. Thanks to our title sponsors, Premier Bank and the James Comprehensive Cancer Center. Remember, there's still work to do. Special thanks to the Moransky Companies, Farmers National Bank, and Greenwood Chevrolet. Bringing together business and community. Go to TriCountyGolfClassic.org. See you at the Lake Club, August 21st. Proudly promoted by 570 WKBN and iHeart Radio Station.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show, your show here on 570, where we talk about tech things and give you a platform to ask your questions or warm up to some of these advances. So 330-729-9977. I love space and travel and physics and all that kind of stuff. So feel free to share any of your favorites with me at the text line 333-1570. A little bit about Youngstown Computer. We are both a commercial and residential service provider. Everything from fixing things to selling new equipment, setting up networks, extending Wi-Fi, and solving a ton of computer problems. If you've got cracked screens, laptop screens, or you need a new keyboard on your laptop, give us a call, 330-259-7278. And even if you don't have something right now, there is something in your future, I'm sure. We would like to be the company in your Rolodex that when you need something, we're go-to. 330-259-7278, or check us out, youngstowncomputer.com. If you do need something, we'd really appreciate if you come to us for that. 330-259-7278. All right, back to the program here. It looks like we got a phone call, so let me see if I can take this call in the blind. Line number 1, what do you got?
Hi, I'm calling about, I want to transfer all my data and programs from a Windows 8 to a Windows 10 computer. And I have a device here, it's called a external expansion drive. And will that do the job?
Yeah, if you just get a drive that's equally as big as the hard drive that you're gathering data from. Now, are you just going to copy data, or are you going to do like restore a backup?
I don't understand. I need to, all my files and things that are on the old computer, I'd like it to be on the new one.
Yeah, beautiful. Easy to do. You're basically going to put the external drive on the old computer, and you're going to run a backup so that all of the folders are copied over to the external drive. And then you're going to go to the new computer, you're plug that same drive in, and you're going to do a restore. You're going to actually take those files and then copy them into, like, I'd go to the C drive and create a folder called restore. And then you can go through, pick all the folders that you just backed up and dump them into that folder called restore, and then all your stuff will be on the new one.
Okay, very good. Now, whenever I back everything out of my old computer, will the hard drive be wiped clean, or does it stay on there too?
Yeah,
in addition to that,
you'll actually have to, if you intend, after you know everything's off of the old computer, you can actually run either run a restore on it, or you can wipe the hard drive, one or the other. Usually people, if it's not that important, after they delete the stuff off the old one, they'll just run a restore point and or factory defaults, and then that's usually good enough.
Oh, so the restore, it's not going to put anything back on it. Just, I don't quite understand.
Yeah, so when you restore it back to factory defaults, it goes back to the point like you had it on day one.
Oh, okay, I got it. All right, very good.
All right,
thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the phone call. Appreciate you being out there, and hope that helps. 330-729-99. And if you have a question for me, feel free to give me a call. And here's a topic, and I think this was coming out right before I left. I may have brought it up, but I wanted to get a little bit more details. I'm fascinated with this stuff, so I always share the stuff that I'm, really digging. And you know me, that as soon as they allow people to jump in a rocket and get shot off to Mars, I'm going to be like the first person in line. If they said, "Hey, we got this new thing called the Matrix. Anybody want to plug in?" That's me again, first in line. Do I think that all of humanity is somehow going to be put into a simulation? I'm going to argue back, hey, we're probably already in a simulation, so a lot. But what does change is thinking about if we put ourselves in a simulation while already being in a simulation, that kind of melts your brain a little bit. But Apple's coming out with a augmented reality visor, and this is different than virtual reality. So think about it this way. Virtual reality is something when they put it in front of your eyes, masks the real world and basically serves up a reality in front of your eyeballs. So they can mimic reality by giving you sort of like, think of inside those goggles are screens, computer screens, but your brain, your eyes are open under that mask, but you see a screen. And so you see the thing they want you to see, and they can provide all of the depth and the quality and the geometry, everything that's necessary for your brain to say, oh, what I'm looking at must be the real world because I'm looking at it. My eyes are open and I see stuff. And if they do a good job, then your brain accepts it. And then that reality is, could be a video game, could be, I had one where I jumped out of an airplane once and I was falling and my brain thought I was falling, and my equilibrium was all jacked up while I was falling, and it was really cool to watch my body go through trying to figure out if this is real or not. And as time goes on, the technology gets more and more convincing. Well, augmented reality is when you hybrid your real field of vision with other stuff. So when Google Glasses came out, you put these glasses that you could see through, you can see the world. But the glasses actually had like a heads-up display where you can see stuff on the glasses. So you can continue looking at the real world with also looking at stuff that's put in front of your eyeballs. So they're both a screen that allows you to see through and a screen that displays things to you. So one of the examples that I was looking at was that you can go into a room and you can see your walls, but then you can populate things that aren't really in that room like they were in that room. So you might have, let's just say you had a personal assistant, virtual personal assistant. So you create this person that's your virtual assistant, and you can have them sitting in the chair next to you when they're not really there, and you can talk to them and interact with them as if they're there, but they're just a computer-generated artificial intelligence personal assistant. But it becomes kind of real when they're sitting in the exact same room. Or you want to see what a TV looks like, a certain TV, so you can slap it on the wall and see what it would look like in that room, and the augmented reality just makes it happen, and your brain just accepts that what you're seeing is believable. I like the heads-up technology stuff. I like to be able to have your field of vision, making better use of it so that you can be looking forward and you can be doing other things within your field of vision. So, for instance, like car manufacturers played with this where they put your speed limit on the screen. Like there's some models in the 90s or even early 2000s had it so you didn't have to break vision from the road. You can see what speed you were going to on a little corner of the window in the front. And they just projected it from the bottom part of the dashboard up to the screen or up to the windshield, and you had a field of vision so you don't have to break concentration. And that's more what I see. Well, if you look around, like if you're in your car right now, do me a favor, look to your right and left of cars. And I want you to count how many people you pass or how many people you're around that aren't looking at their phone, whether or not they're stopped or driving, but they're not looking at their phone somehow. So we can all like tell people that that's a bad practice, but yet everybody is doing it. So it doesn't matter that it's frowned upon. It's still a hazard because the people that are driving around you are doing it distracted. If we made that, which is happening already, a little bit safer by putting that heads-up display where they can see what they're doing, that they're currently looking down, and put it in their field of vision where at least they can see traffic in front of them. A lot of you are going to say, hey, that creates more of a distraction. Nah, I doubt it. Unless we can drive around and you find out of 20 people that you look at that 20 people were not looking down at their phone while they were driving, then I'll agree with you. But that's not what I see. I'm serious. Look around. And you, like I said, you will find that more people are driving distracted, but they're getting good at it. They're able to use their peripheral vision, and they look up often enough that they can do two things, like look at their phone and look at the road and still get along with it, especially with a lot of the technologies that allow adaptive cruise control and some steering assistance that keep you in your lane so you don't stray out of into traffic. If your cruise control is keeping you away from the car in front of you and the assistant is keeping it so you don't cross lanes, then you technically can get along with looking at your phone a whole lot without making it look like you're looking at your phone. But anyway, the heads-up display, you can do a lot of things like somebody texts me when I'm driving somewhere and it's my appointment that's going next. Rather than me having to look down at my phone to see what they said, it just comes up on my eyeglasses and gives me a little quick summary. I mean, the psychologists and people that can study this can say the amount of information that I can put in your field of vision before it becomes a distraction. If I put 2 words on your screen to give you a summary, does that create enough of a distraction that it risks crashing versus me looking down at my phone to look at that same thing? And that's what we're comparing here. Reality and an improved version of it. So anyway, that's the heads-up display. This Apple visor, it's going to be every bit of $3,500 when it comes out. There's waiting lists for it, and it's going to require not an invitation, but an appointment with the Apple store. And I don't know if it's to outfit you or do training, or they just want to limit the exposure of how many people order these things. But it's going to be it's going to be sought, even though it's a huge price tag, it's going to be sought after. And it might be a little bit hard to get in the first term, but I believe it's the first quarter of 2024 is when it comes out. But they're not going to be the only ones. I always considered like 3D movies. They always did them because they sold a couple more tickets, but it's not something you always wanted to do. I foresee us getting past that sort of like cool part of AR and VR, and you're going to see some pretty practical iterations that come out into the public. And again, I'm going to be one of them because I liked if you put VR glasses, put your Oculus glasses on right now and see what can be done. What you're seeing there would be similar to like a technical person giving you a representation, like like when you're putting a movie together, making a drawing on the wall of what this is going to look like. They can see it in their head and where it's going, but they can't articulate it in a way that will give you the real end cue. So when you're looking at your Oculus, that's sort of like that current articulation. Remember when Windows came out, you had a bunch of people who had no idea what a mouse was. Their computer was a keyboard. Nobody really knew how to operate or use a mouse. It just wasn't a regular thing. So they crash a game in there called Minesweeper. Minesweeper got people used to clicking at this grid of small squares. And so the conditioning between your sort of like where you were looking at and where your finger was clicking, they needed to create some, to culture that in. And so they created a game that would make people play and start conditioning the brain to be able to click in small spaces. And it worked. The games got our brains cooking and made it so that we're, pretty good with the mouse. And I would say that I can click around with pretty good accuracy because my brain and my hand are more connected because of, Microsoft. Same thing goes here. Is that some of the games that they're creating are teaching people how to get around in a virtual world, because when you're walking around in a virtual world, you're not just like moving your legs and walking around like the real world, because if you're walking around a big map, you would have to have an infinite room to walk around in to make it one for one. And we don't have the, those, what are they called? Anyway, those things you walk on that have the band around. I can't think of the word, but anyway, we don't have those. You just walk on it and move around the thing, the worlds yet. So you have these controllers in your hands and you use your hands and the buttons on it to move around. Well, your brain's not going to think that part of it is very real, because when you walk, you're using your legs and feet and speed and, running and walking and whatever. It's not like pushing or using your hands and grabbing. It's a different thing. So, but in the beginning here, we're just on the infancy of this. So we got to wrap our brains around being in a place. And if our brains eventually accept it, then we'll have shoes or, suits or something that will allow us to walk around virtual environments just like we would in real environments. And if you think that augmented reality is just opening up real worlds, so like you do not have to provide the room in augmented reality, you're in one. And all you have to do is adjust the room that you're already in to take on a new form. And then you can walk around in virtual worlds that have underpinnings to actually the real world. And that's more so going to advance this a little bit better, because it's going to be more accepted. It's more useful. You don't have to provide 100% of the experience. You just have to adapt on to something that's there and figure out a way to say, if I could put some information in the right and left part of this person's field of vision right now, what would be super useful? And you could think about it all day, what you'd like to have. And it would start out as, just tech heads are going to do stuff like that. But if you really put your thinking cap on your imagination, you could think of a lot of things. Like you're wandering around the grocery store and you have your grocery list on the right-hand side, and you just move your eyes over and it comes into full field of vision. You don't have to carry papers around. I mean, think about if your eyeballs were your computer monitor, you could just look anywhere and see your thing. And maybe revisions are both, where if I decided that I wanted to watch a movie I wouldn't have to use a tablet. I wouldn't have to put a full hood on. The glasses that I'm wearing might just play the movie, and I can see them as if it were, the same size that a movie screen would be, in my house, but it's actually just augmented in my field of vision. So, like I said, tons of cool stuff, and I like seeing this. And I don't know how many of you are planning on buying the augmented reality glasses or the hood from Apple, but just let you know it's coming up in the first quarter of 2024. All right. That was long-waited. 330-729-9977 is the phone number. You can text me at 333-1570. We are going to take a break here real quick, and then we'll come back with some more news. I'm going to talk a little bit about Tesla and the chargers that happened while I was off on my road trip. Some cool things that are happening, these little collaborations between different companies, or at least cooperations, mean a lot for the future and the of EV production here in the United States. So we'll talk about that. 330-729-9977. Text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Beauty, durability, and value. For a limited time, get free installation on any NatureStone basement floor. Call or visit naturestone.com to schedule your free cost estimate. Spots are filling up quickly, so act now. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's NatureStone.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
Rover's Morning Glory. It's the Woody Show. It's Elliot in the morning.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
All of the best free curated playlists. It's everything that rocks. All of the great podcasts for every interest.
This is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing content.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. Download the absolutely free iHeartRadio app now.
Together.
Juntos.
Together.
We stand up to cancer. On Saturday, August 19th, join Stand Up to Cancer for all the inspiration.
Together, we can stand up for our family and friends and everyone who is battling this disease.
Celebrating all the progress and innovation.
So just stand up with us.
One night to save lives. Join the millions in the fight against cancer. Tune in Saturday, August 19th at 8, 7 Central on ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. For more ways to watch, visit standuptocancer.org.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. Over on YouTube, a comment says, making you a risk to public safety. And yes, absolutely. If it weren't compared with what's already happening, you would say that it was an increased risk to public safety. On its own merits, yes, anything that gets in your way of actually driving in your field of vision, if a computer's not doing the driving for you and it's your responsibility, then those things would be a risk to public safety. So I can't disagree with that comment. But if you're just comparing whether or not it's worse or better, if you take a person that's 90% distracted but getting away with it, and you give them something that only makes them 30% distracted and getting away with it, was it an improvement? And then it absolutely was. So 330-729-9977. Let's see. And in the future, let's talk a little bit about, Tesla and some of the level 2, level 3, level 4. So automation in vehicles is sort of a game that, one of these days you're going to read a headline that says fully autonomous vehicles. And so they have these ratings where level 0 versus all the way up to level 5, full autonomy, no steering wheel, no interventions, just the car driving itself along other cars. And there's tons of companies that are actually working on having the ability to have cars drive themselves as being a participant in the beta program of full self-driving. There's a lot going on there. And from just a user standpoint, if you're sitting in the cabin and you're letting a computer drive and your interventions are sort of like psychologically marking where its vulnerabilities are, it still feels like it has a ways to come. But what you're witnessing, if you're going through this, is you're watching a car make judgments and try to figure out safe versus risk. And when you watch the little computer animations within a Tesla, you're watching it notice something. So when a car registers on your screen, that means that the camera saw something that visually looked like a car, and then it starts making judgments about what cars do, which is they move. And there's a risk calculation that's going on the whole time that says, here's this car that is not moving. I'm watching for something that increases its risk that maybe it starts moving. And so as it gets better at guessing as to what things are happening, it's on the other side. Tesla's program works sort of like a little bit of a young driver, right? Somebody who just started driving, where they're a little vulnerable. They don't have much confidence, and they hit the brakes way too often because they were unsure about things, and they go slower than they should have because they're unsure of things. And confidence grows the more that they do a thing and there was no consequence for it, right? And then they don't even have to think about it. And that's sort of where full self-driving is. It's still, I go around a roundabout, and where I would have probably slowed down 5 miles an hour as I'm kind of, viewing what's about to happen, it probably slows down by 20 miles per hour. And so it creates I think it's a little bit more dangerous, that it's too safe and it's creating too many abrupt stops. And so I have to almost speed up a little bit when it tries to be too cautious. And you understand why they do that. Obviously, if you're taking a full self-driving system and it makes a big mistake and it makes the news, that works against the regulators from allowing you to keep continuing to make autonomous vehicles. Look at all these people that died. But in the end, my car is going to talk to your car and all the cars, and they're all going to converse amongst one another about how to be safe. And if they all can agree that they can go 75 miles an hour and there's no consequences, it's great weather, and they're all going to stay around the same speed, then they all can go safely. If somebody says, hey, there looks like there's danger ahead, let's all slow down to 70, and then they all in unison slow down to 70, then there won't be this on the traffic, these 20 mile per hour separations between vehicles, which I think is incredibly dangerous when you have that those differences. If everything's uniform and cars are talking to one another and they have the ability to make decisions quicker and better than human beings, then safety score goes up, exponentially. Then, drivers, we're slow and we're emotional and we miss a lot of details. Computers could probably pay attention longer than we can and take way more data points and make decisions based on more information. But I think, like I said, Tesla's doing a pretty good job. I think we're probably a couple years yet from full autonomous driving. And I think it's going to be two things. I think it's going to be information that cameras can collect, and then historical data about what other drivers have done in the same spot. So if there's a road with a pothole in it, I don't necessarily know that the cameras are going to know what to do with a pothole, but it's going to know that 50 out of the last 50 drivers swerved in this moment and they didn't break a tire, so I'm going to do that too. All right, 330-729-9977. Bob, hang on the line. I'll get back to you as soon as we get back from this break. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'm back.
In this week's Marketers Report, Raja Manar, Chief Marketing and Communications Officer of MasterCard, talks about measurement.
Measuring Sonic and Sonic branding and Sonic initiatives across the board, the principles of measurement are the same, but the parameters that you measure are different. We measured, and what we find is our investment is paying for itself in oodles. We have been partnering with iHeart across multiple platforms, both for brand enhancement as well as for performance marketing. I think the cut-through of the message and the recall of the brand are much higher. Also, it has been very beneficial for us to integrate some of our campaigns into the native content of iHeart. It has been a very nice partnership, and it continues to be very strong into the future.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, trusted influencers, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
From the Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet Studios, available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now, #1 for podcasting, 570 WKDN, Youngstown.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. A federal and state manhunt after a murder and rape suspect busted out of jail this week. ABC's Michelle Franzen has more.
Residents in Warren County, Pennsylvania, on alert and on the lookout for 34-year-old Michael Charles Burnham. Police say the dangerous murder suspect escaped from the county jail when he was out in a recreational area using exercise equipment to scale and slip through a metal-gated roof. Police are asking residents in Jamestown to check their home video cameras for possible sightings. At the same time, the manhunt is expanding to neighboring New York State. Police admitting they don't know where Burnham is at. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
A controversial decision by President Biden in response to urgent requests from Ukraine. ABC's James Longman is in Lviv.
Ukraine enters its 500th day of war with a new American promise. The United States will now give Ukraine cluster munitions. Now, this country says they badly need them because their counteroffensive is going slower than anticipated, but this is a very controversial move. These are munitions that are banned in some 120 countries, many of those countries U.S. allies.
Including Great Britain, where Prime Minister Rishi Sunak finds himself threading a needle.
The UK is signatory to a convention which prohibits the production or use of cluster munitions and discourages their use. We will continue to do our part to support Ukraine against Russia's illegal and unprovoked invasion.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen continues her 4-day trip to China focused on repairing diplomatic relations between the two economic superpowers, while at the same time trying to protect American business interests. ABC's Britt Clennett in Beijing.
Yellen's visit follows Secretary of State Antony Blinken's trip last month, but the optimistic mood kind of changed after President Biden referred to Chinese leader Xi Jinping as a dictator. Now, Yellen's trip here is another way of kind of showing that the U.S. is serious about getting relations back on track.
You're listening to ABC News.
An Austintown woman has been sentenced after pleading guilty to a child endangering charge filed after doctors found broken bones and bruises on her 2-year-old daughter. 22-year-old Sierra Yakovic was arrested in July of last year after she took her toddler to UPMC Hospital in Pittsburgh. Yakovic was sentenced to 6 months in jail, followed by 4 to 6 months in a halfway house. In addition, Yakovic will be on probation for 5 years. As part of her sentence, she cannot see her child for the 5-year term of her probation. A $33 million allocation in the Ohio House version of the state budget to fund a new Canfield Middle School was taken out of the final version of the funding bill. State Rep Al Catrona says the money was included as an amendment to the House version. However, the Senate killed it. The Canfield School Board will seek a bond issue to finance new buildings and renovations. The board is expected to vote Wednesday to put the bond issue on the November ballot. One person is in custody after police say he led officers on a chase. Reports say a male suspect allegedly threatened his mother with a gun and ran off. Police chased him into an apartment building on Terrell Avenue. They say the suspect eventually surrendered and is in the Mahoney County Jail. The name of the suspect has not been released. The Dragon Drive Sewer Improvement Project in Niles is scheduled to begin Monday. The project should last about 135 days. Roads will be closed to through traffic, but local and emergency traffic will be maintained. Delays should be expected. City leaders are urging drivers to avoid the construction zone during normal work hours. And sections of a Beaver Township road are scheduled to close beginning Wednesday. New Buffalo Road will close between Route 46 and Reckenberger Road between Wednesday, July 12th and Friday, July 14th for culvert replacements. Also, after that, New Buffalo Road will close between Route 165 and Reckenberger Road beginning Monday, July 17th through Friday, July 21st, also for culvert replacements. From the Columbiana Cadillac Buick Chevrolet Newsroom, drivecolumbiana.com, I'm Dave Price.
Our next update at 2:30. Your news, weather, and traffic station 24/7.
Leave it on all day at work.
I got it on all day. 570 WKBN.
Weather brought to you by Mazda Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Increasing clouds throughout the rest of the day, just the chance of a late afternoon shower or storm with high temperatures in the low to mid 80s. And then tonight, showers and thunderstorms becoming likely, low temperatures in the mid 60s. And for your Sunday, showers and storms likely. Some of the rainfall could be heavy with high temperatures in the mid 70s. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
Temperature 83.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the Ohio Lottery's Powerball jackpot, rocketing skyward all the way to $590 million. Wow, winning that sure would be super. What are you waiting for? Get your Powerball ticket today. And remember, Ohio Lottery scratch-offs pay out over $4.5 million daily. So pick up a few of the newest games, too. Lottery players are subject to Ohio Laws and Commission regulations. Play responsibly.
Listen to the Rust Belt Sports Show podcast, available at 570WKBN.com. John Bellino and Bob Cavalier dig into the latest in sports. That's the Rust Belt Sports Show podcast, now available at 570WKBN.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer and host of this program. We're going to take calls, 330-729-99. Let's go to Bob first. Bob, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Good morning, Joe.
Hi.
Good to hear you back on the radio.
Oh,
We
thank
missed
you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, my wife and I are going to be changing our service providers for the internet connection. Coming, I think they're supposed to show up at the house tomorrow. Now, we have been with our current service provider. I live out in the rural area of Berlin Center. And we have been with our current provider probably for the last 8 or 9 years. And my wife has used their mail service. And we are having a difficult time, let's put it that way, figuring out how can we switch her current income, especially her mailing list, over to I'm going to put her on Gmail. I'm going to give her a Gmail account. And we're having a real tough time because we're not real computer literate. I can spend hours trying to work out a problem, and I'm tenacious about it. But she gets real frustrated. And I want to set up a Gmail account, which will then become, I'm assuming, portable to any other service provider we may switch to in the future.
Correct?
Correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So the two things we need to do is right now we're with what used to be CenturyLink. It's now called Brightspeed, and they have really got our systems messed up. We need to find out how can I save all of her mail contacts and then transfer that to a Gmail account. And secondly, how can we easily set her up a good Gmail account that would be easy for her to operate?
One. Now, are you looking to sort of like everybody who has your email address as they come in, give them notification that your email is changing?
Yes.
Okay.
Either that or do kind of a shotgun mailing. I'm thinking about just having her make a very brief, almost like a postcard type of thing that she would send to the top 25 people on her mailing list with that information. You know, we're switching service providers. Here's our new quote unquote permanent email address. Please take corrective action immediately. And that way it's going to filter out a lot of the junk mail that we all get anyway, but at least initially. So that's kind of where I'm headed if we can do it easily.
Okay. And some providers will actually, for a couple bucks a month, after you're gone from them, they'll allow you to, have just enough billable service to keep the email address for a period of time. And that way you can put like an autoresponder for maybe 6 months. Maybe if they charge you $3 a month for 6 months, you can put an autoresponder that says, hey, update of my email address, and give them the new address. Now that is a little cleaner and a longer runway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm following that. Yeah, never thought about that.
So to answer your question then is I would take some kind of mail client, either Thunderbird or Outlook or something that can receive email. And I would connect that up using either POP or IMAP to be able to copy everything that's up on their servers and bring it down onto a computer. And that way, if you move services, then you can either, keep it local, or you can even publish that stuff back up to the new provider once you get there.
Both of those things that you just mentioned, IPOP and the other one, what was it? MAP something or other?
IMAP or POP3.
Yeah, POP3. I'm familiar with the terminology, but I don't understand how it works. And I use Thunderbird. I've been using it for years.
Beautiful.
I love it. And I'm pretty sure that's my wife has been using the one that came with CenturyLink.
Right.
Her and I are on like opposite ends of the computer stick.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, and once you have all that stuff pulled into Thunderbird, and you have all that email content or your, your lists, and do that while you still have access to the old email provider. And then once you shut it off or you stop using it, all that stuff is going to reside in Thunderbird so that, you can use it as a local copy for as long as you need.
Okay, because I'm familiar with Thunderbird. I've used it for years, and I really like the simplicity of it. And then that would be portable over to the new Gmail account, correct? We could just connect the two.
Yeah, and honestly, Gmail has the ability to connect in using POP and then bringing that all that email automatically into Gmail. In the settings, you can actually connect other services and have it dump directly into Gmail. You could do it one time, or you can have that happening all the time.
All right, we'll probably go with all the time because my wife doesn't follow up real well.
Okay.
The other thing is, from your experience, is IMAP or iPop better as far as that operating system that we're talking about for the Gmail?
Yeah, I would use POP. IMAP, it leaves most of the content on the server and only puts sort of like indexing information on the computer, and it's like on demand. So when you go to request something, it delivers it rather than it being there. So if you want to completely archive, use POP.
Okay, makes sense. Now, is there somewhere on the internet that this afternoon I can go and kind of get like a cheat sheet for what you just shared with me and download it? Because that's how I work best, is, it's line by line, item by item, check this off, like when you balance your checkbook at the bank.
Yeah, I would use language like email, archiving, Thunderbird, POP3. And if you use those 4, key words, you should have a ton of help articles about how that happened. Archiving, Thunderbird, POP3, and should help you.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. I really appreciate how you guys help over the radio for us old timers. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, Bob. Thank you for being out there. Appreciate you checking in with us, and good luck with that project. And for everyone else, I mean, chances are that you should be doing something like this anyhow, because that if a device goes down for the count, or you lose a service provider that go out of business, you don't want your stuff to get lost, right? So, let's just say you had, CenturyLink, and CenturyLink goes out of business. You go to check your email and find out they're gone, and you don't have a copy of your email anywhere else other than on their servers, and you can't get to their server anymore. Got to make sure that you got some redundancy. This text message from Anonymous wants to know how long it's going to be before you can feel in virtual reality. That's probably going to be one of the first things that get perfected. The sex industry and sex robots and sex simulations, that's probably on the menu item number 1 as the probably most sellable feature. And so having suits that you wear that when you have input, you can actually feel interactions with human beings. I mean, a good bit of our perception is touch, right? And so they're going to have things that if I were to touch your arm in the simulation, that it constricts some kind of whatever and makes it feel like I'm touching your real arm. And then once you have that ability, then you can have touch in all sorts of the different parts of the body, and you can use your imagination to take that as far as you'd like. But to answer your question, Mr. Anonymous, it'll be soon, I can assure you. And especially with, oh my goodness, like if you can think of like these droids, these robots that are going to be, human-like, what do you think human beings are going to figure out? Like, I'm really scared for the species where, you have relations with a human being, and that's how we procreate and make more of ourselves, right? When you can simulate the relationships with something that is not a human being, and that satisfies you in all the ways that you need to be, well, maybe it lowers the value of complicated human relationships because you have this perfect robotic relationship. Man, did we go in the weeds on this one. 330-729-9977, 333-1570. And I want to remind you to please, when you have some kind of computer need, keep Youngstown Computer in mind. We'd really appreciate it if when any of these upgrades, repairs, I want to tell you that most of 90% of our business at one time was viruses and spyware. And we exited the era where computers were so susceptible to it that we have now made our living off of the remaining 20%, which means that we can invest a lot more of our, monthly and yearly technology budgets into learning new things. So I can kind of I know a lot of you are still under the desk waiting for the other, the shoe to fall. But I don't think we're going to get dangerous again in the future. So we can use some of that, look back through what you spend over a course of a year. If you're not spending that now, let's invest in getting into some new tech and some new hardware, and to have a commitment to stay up with how things are moving and changing. So give Youngstown Computer a call, 330-259-7278. Bring your residential and commercial business to our doorstep. We'd really appreciate it. You guys have done awesome of always supporting all of our endeavors, and we really appreciate it. So 330-259-7278. Let's go next to Tom. Tom, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Joe, I've been just sitting back here. Your last statement really prompted this. From the standpoint of we eventually get to a point where we don't need sex, the shaker, Shaker Furniture and the whole idea out of Cleveland area, the Shaker Heights, the Shaker religion, one of its commandments was that you could not have intercourse in marriage. Now think about that. A religion that does not procreate in terms of having people within the family. So the only way they could get people into their religion was either by adoption or conversion. And there aren't very many of them around now.
Wow.
No, I mean, what I'm getting at is you're absolutely right. And the other thing that bothers me, and it bothers me too, about this whole idea where we're going with computers thinking for us, and having a situation where in biological labs we can create almost human beings. You couldn't tell the difference. Is that conscience going to be one of Mother Teresa, or is it going to be one of Al Capone, or even worse yet, that guy, the dictator in North Korea? I mean, directing us on how to live society. And what happens when you have a situation where you're relying on your computers, let's say, for the best way of getting from point A to point B, what's the most efficient way of doing it time-wise, and then everybody else does the same thing, and all of a sudden it's congested. So it's not the best way. Or building something, and cost-wise, what's the most cost-effective way of building this shed or building this house? And everybody, puts it in at the same time, or even one right after another. And supply and demand. Obviously, the price of services and materials are going to go up. So the point I'm getting at is, I don't see how this works. I think we're going to have a lot of difficulty. And Alfred Nobel, the Nobel Peace Prize, I don't know whether you know the story of him or not. He took nitroglycerin, which was an explosive and very unstable, and he created dynamite instead for mining and for moving mountains and so forth, creating roads. Well, the end result was that he thought he was doing something useful for society. When he saw the destructive nature of how it was being used for war purposes, that's how he created the Peace Prize and the Nobel other prizes, because it was just a sense of guilt of taking his good intentions and how the human nature at times will just put it in a destructive way. And unfortunately, I think that we're going to be more down that second path of the negative things outweighing the good results.
Well said. Yeah, absolutely. Well said. All right. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being out there. I mean, human nature, I mean, it's fairly predictable that, I don't necessarily fear. So for instance, if you have the technology does organically versus compromising the technology for a less than noble end. That's the part that I fear, because I think human beings are super manipulative when put in that kind of a scenario. So I think I fear humans a lot too. I just surely hope that people who are smarter than you and I really have a handle on this and are really controlling this and are really being thoughtful of this. But really, I know that the people who are working on this are probably not the best of our society, and aren't working with noble intentions and are exploitive and, self-centered and not really taking the macro look at this and just look at the micro opportunities that can be there. That's just my little bit of cynicism. Both Tom and I probably see a darker future than some. I just want to do it safely. I mean, I just want to make sure that we do it smartly, and it's surely a tool to us, and that we're thinking through all the pitfalls. And that's why we bring it up super early. We are talking about this technology before it's affecting us, so that we can get really cozy. We can really be sure when it comes out that I don't want to be like a "I told you so" kind of guy. I don't want to say like, we talked about this and it wasn't important before, so whatever. 330-729-9977. You can text me at 333-1570. I still have to talk about the cooperations in the EV industries. A lot of cool stuff happened when I was on my trip, and a little bit about my, vacating away from technology because it wouldn't have worked anyhow, even if I'd have tried, because I was in the middle of a forest kind of thing. So give me a call, 330-729-9977, or text me, 333-1570. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBM. I'll be back.
iHeartRadio. Are you a business owner, CEO, or responsible for marketing? If you are, iHeartMedia can help you reach your goals and find new customers. We reach more consumers in your target area than anyone else. You access to those potential customers more cost effectively across radio, digital, podcasting, and social. We'd love to show you how iHeartMedia can work for you. Get started today at iHeartAdvertising.com. It's iHeartAdvertising.com.
As the weather warms, Ohioans are finding more ticks. Avoiding tall grass and wearing light-colored long pants and long-sleeved shirts are just a few things you can do to protect yourself. After being outdoors, be sure to check for ticks, and if you find any, remove them. And watch for any symptoms if you find any bites. For a full list of ways to prevent tick bites, visit ohio.gov/ticks.
Together.
Juntos.
Together.
We stand up to cancer. On Saturday, August 19th, join Stand Up to Cancer.
We launched Stand Up to Cancer with a mission to make every cancer patient a long-term survivor.
Together, we can stand up for our family and friends and everyone who is battling this disease.
For all the inspiration.
A dream thought to be too big, too bold, too radical, and revolutionary.
All the laughter.
I'm here to teach you how to conduct a self-exam.
I thought I was getting a massage.
Right away you are.
I'm the only one that said they needed a theme song. Stand up to cancer!
Celebrating all the progress and innovation.
This information is out there. Together we can unlock it.
So just stand up with us.
So that every cancer patient can become a survivor.
One night to save lives. Join the millions in the fight against cancer. Tune in Saturday, August 19th at 8/7 Central on ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. For more ways to watch, visit standuptocancer.org.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and this is your show where we can talk about things in tech. A lot of you who are get geeked out over this kind of stuff, you're welcome here, and I appreciate you being here. A little bit about Tesla and EV charging. See, Tesla, because of how they modeled this, they developed a vast charging network for their vehicles. And it's a valuable resource because other manufacturers also need charging. And if every manufacturer made their own charging stations, then it would almost be like every cell phone company having to put up their own tower, where there could be some shared interests and sharing the ability to charge cars with other manufacturers. And I was hoping to see this. I mean, if you go to the Sheets in Mineral Ridge, they have a charging station, and they have it's a general charging station, so you can plug in all kinds of different manufacturers, and they have different nozzles, different hookups. It's not this universal hookup that all manufacturers agreed upon to use. They each have their own way of plugging in. And I started reading before I went off on a trip that Mercedes-Benz would start installing and allowing, agreeing with Tesla that they would provide charging services for Mercedes-Benz. So you bought an EV, it charges on Tesla's charging network, and then boom, you have a built-in capacity right off the get-go. And I think that's very smart, because they, Tesla did invest a ton of money in creating that. So the way this works is when you're looking at a charging station map, about every hour, like I would say with every 60 miles, there's going to be a get off the freeway charging location. There's some exceptions. Like there's a missing piece up in Ashtabula. So if I go up Route 11 from Youngstown and I'm going to Geneva on the Lake, there's a charging station in Hermitage, and there's one in Cleveland. So it's a void where if I go to Geneva on the Lake, I better be able to get there and get back on a full charge because there's not anywhere to stop. But if I'm going on Interstate 80, pretty much every 60 miles, there's a charging station that all I have to do is dump off of the an exit, and I charge my car. So there's plenty of them in most cases, again, with few exceptions. But if we're keep adding new ones, we're allowing companies to open using the charging standards, even if it's not a Tesla charger, but you can use it to charge a Tesla if they have adapters or whatever. That's what's necessary, because one of the big hangups from people buying electric vehicles, aside from the negativity, is the anxiety that it causes, the extra stuff that you have to do, because you basically have fueling stations everywhere. And, ICE vehicles have gas stations everywhere. And so like you've never been like, oh, I'm running low on gas and not been able to find a gas station. It's not even a worry. But with charging stations, they're harder to find and you don't see them as often. So you almost feel like, I hope I get there before I run out of batteries, even though in my case, I've gotten close 3 times. One time I was heading to New Jersey, and I had to I was diverted off of the highway because of an accident. So I was going down a bunch of back roads. No charging stations were in the back road, so I had to make it to my destination. I got to the destination, and the chargers had caution tape on them. They were being repaired. So thankfully, there was another charging station within 6 miles. So I came within 10 miles of not having enough juice. Now, the other times, that was the only time where, circumstances really, do not put things in my favor. The other times it was, I could have charged, but I pushed the limits of it, and I came super close to having, to run out, super close to run out. And I've never run out. I've never been dead on the road with a dead battery, but it still causes concerns for consumers when they start knowing that they're super close to any charging facility, because there's thousands of them on every road, and it's lucrative for people to sell the electricity so that lots of people install them. Then it would be parity with having a nice vehicle. But we do have, and again, that's an advance that helps the cause of making it so you have more mass adoption, which it's already happening. It's exponential growth. More people are buying them. If you look around, you see Teslas and you see EVs more often. And I am not a pro one way or the other. I'm a buy whatever you like and what makes you happy kind of guy. And lots of different tools, lots of different flavors for what everybody likes. I'm not going to say ICE vehicles need to go away, and I'm not going to say EVs need to go away. Drive what you like. I love my EV. I love the speed. I love the handling. I love the cost savings. I love my EV. So anyway, 330-729-9977. You can give me a call. We got another half hour of the program today. So if you text me, I can read your text messages on the air and answer your questions if you have any. The text line is 330-333-1570. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
The shocking truth is that 1 in 10 suicides by firearm happen within 1 week of a gun purchase. LifeSite Ohio is by your side. LifeSite Ohio is an innovative program for education and awareness in firearm safety, suicide prevention, and more. Visit lifesiteohio.org for details. Please call 988 if you are suicidal or in crisis. Sponsored by the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation.
In Columbus, the search continues for a third suspect in the robbery spree and shootout Thursday with police. 1 suspect's in custody. The third died when shot by police. The 3 accused of stealing a car from a Porsche dealership in Whitehall, then robbing a bank near Hilliard, followed by a police pursuit. 1 Columbus police officer was shot and wounded and is said to be in critical condition. Friday, the Adams County Jail in Southwest Ohio was evacuated while some inmates and some jail and court employees were hospitalized for exposure to fentanyl. The Adams County Chief Deputy said 1 inmate gave the illicit drugs to 2 female and 10 male inmates. A woman who made headlines in May after she allegedly attacked workers at a Toledo Wendy's says she's not guilty. Jelena Stewart reportedly threw items around the Wendy's after finding there was no cheese on a chicken sandwich. I'm Tom Moore.
Our next update at 3.
And we have breaking news.
Keep up.
Breaking news.
Breaking news with what happens next.
Issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKDN.
Weather brought to you by Mazza Heating and Cooling and Bryant, keeping you comfortable year-round.
Increasing clouds throughout the rest of the day, just the chance of a late afternoon shower or storm with high temperatures in the low to mid 80s. And then tonight, showers and thunderstorms becoming likely, low temperatures in the mid 60s. And for your Sunday, showers and storms likely. Some of the rainfall could be heavy with high temperatures in the mid 70s. From the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Adam Clayton.
Temperature 83.
The Guardians take on the Royals this afternoon at 4:10 at Progressive Field. Airtime for Guardians warm-up, 3:35.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. Worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at gawon'twait.com. That's gawon'twait.com.
Help lead the fight for a world without cancer. Play or sponsor a team in the Tri-County Golf Classic Monday, August 21st at the Lake Club. Thanks to our title sponsors, Premier Bank and the James Comprehensive Cancer Center. Remember, there's still work to do. Special thanks to the Moransky Companies, Farmers National Bank, and Greenwood Chevrolet. Bringing together business and community. Go to tricountygolfclassic.org. See you at the Lake Club, August 21st. Proudly promoted by 570 WKBN, an iHeart radio station.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I'm Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and this is your Saturday show where I can talk about and you can talk about and we can talk about tech things. So 330-729-9977 or text me 333-1570. I was, as I mentioned earlier in the program, I was off for the last many weeks because I was doing an out west trip. It's in the middle of state parks. Did a lot of hiking and camping, but one thing that I was away from was a lot of the technology habits that I had. I would spend many hours a day looking at social media and doing computer things. And when I broke out and just, cut the addiction for a little bit, I got used to not having it around quite so often. And so I found myself when I've come back that I have probably reduced my screen time by about 80%. And whereas I might have sat there in the morning for 45 minutes, scrolling feeds from when I was drinking my coffee. Now I pour coffee and I go out on the back deck and I get into, some philosophical thought, because I was used to doing that when you got these big mountain ranges to look at. And I think it's a way better use of my time. But what I noticed is when I was breaking the addiction to some of my technology habits, that there were some things that started happening in my brain that I could really see, branching off into depressions and anxieties, like a disconnection, because a lot of people's connection with other human beings is coming a lot through what they get through technology, where human interactions only second to likes and conversations on social media. And the danger of that, as more of our, especially kids, like I really fear for my 13-year-old, that his exposure to that kind of stuff is immense. And he's not alone. All of his peers are, creating relationships that way. And I think that if, he's been around me enough that we break his addiction like every couple months, where we'll just have a couple days with no tech and realize what the real world's like without it, and then come back a little healthier because of it. But lot of your fellow, your neighbors and your friends could go through the same, same kind of detriment that real, like, chemical addiction would have. This psychological addiction that we have was only dangerous after I saw myself, who wouldn't consider myself fully, addicted to it. But those habits that we have, like, go ahead and put a stopwatch next to how many hours of every day you spend on social media thumbing through your feed. And as soon as you know that, if you're happy with it, cool. But if you got 3 or 4 hours invested in it and you can't tell me with a value in it except for relationships, like, I can have a conversation with a human being in 15 minutes with more depth and more connection than I can at 4 hours looking at the lives and the vacations and the birthdays and the memories with other people on social media. So my take, I just think it's a dangerous predicament. And especially parents, if you can consider every once in a while, just like dipping off of it for a little while, just to let the brain recuperate and get used to human interactions again. This texter says, I love Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It shows the best and worst of humanity. I do love, those kinds of shows and movies, all sci-fi stuff. It challenges your brain into what could be, and you wrap a storyline around it, and good acting and action and comedy and whatever. And it's good to look at, especially like even in some of the stuff like The Matrix and some of the time travel movies that we've witnessed. It was cool, but I've never followed any of the, I haven't had any connection with Star Trek at all. I think I've watched a couple episodes back in the, early days, but that's about it. I don't have much point of reference on that. Let's see. I want to open esport facilities. What's the best computers? What best computer? What names? What games should you have? Get a sponsor? Need 8 computers. Okay, so if you want to open an esports facility, which is awesome, and kids are gaming and they're competitively gaming and there's money wrapped up into gaming, best computers, I would check in with a gaming club, finding out what games that they are playing, and then matching up the computer that you buy with what kind of tournaments you intend on playing. And if it's a high-end deal where you need lots of 3D, then match up your video card and whatever. But I would specifically tailor the machine that you buy. Your rig has to play the game that you want to play really well. So I can't give you off-the-shelf advice there. Check to see what's hot right now and what people are playing, and then use that as your, the recommendation specs on it. Have that be your starting point. How do you get a sponsor for it? It's a good question, because the sponsors, and I've not seen sponsorships and who's jumping in to that kind of stuff. It was, when I did watch, it was a lot of the, the NVIDIAs and Microsofts, and it was the big national names when people compete on a national level. But a local gaming club, I mean, I guess you can find any of your, if you go to a ball field Those are people who are in the community whose kids participate in those leagues, and then they support it because that's what companies do. You might want to do the same thing. Look around at some of your ball fields and see if you see any names that you can pitch becoming a sponsor. Ohio Sports Bar and Betting. Sure. If you got somebody. I'm not following this text message, so let me skip that for now. You can text me, give me some more details about what you just texted me so I know what you're talking about. Anyway, 330-729-9977. So the EV topic, the one thing that concerns me, and my wife and I had a discussion on our trip, is that what makes people so angry about EVs? Like there was an article. I'm going to say Jeep. I don't remember that if it was a Jeep or not. I'm just going to use this for example's sake, that a Jeep caught fire, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, that was a tragedy. I can't believe a Jeep caught fire." But had that been an EV, it had been written. The headline would have been written. The feeling would have been different about, "Oh, see, look how dangerous that EV is. They catch fire all the time." When nobody said it was one of the characteristics of Jeep that they blow up, because it's not. But it occurs to me that so many people are gunning for that technology. There's some hatred in that. And maybe it's because sort of like the political leanings where, it became this political football where it means something. It means like that's if we do EV, then that's an acknowledgement for environmentalism. Like if you do that, then you have to be. If you buy an EV, then you have to have you're on team global warming, right? And so you fight against the technology as a fight against the thing that you do not believe. Well, there is a whole swarm of us that just do things that we like, and we really don't care how you kind of feel about that. But it irks me a little bit. And it's usually the new technologies that people try to gang tackle. And, us innovators, like, we know the first round, you're going to have your laggards and the people I appeal to innovators and early adopters. Those are the people I want to kind of see a glimmer of possibility in what I'm working on. I don't need if I'm appealing to the mass adopters, then I'm doing it wrong, because then I've tailored my innovations too closely to what already exists, and I'm probably not innovating a whole lot. So I know that I'm going to take barbs from people who are in that middle part or the laggards group, but I have to have some support from the people who are objectively looking at the rationale behind some kind of innovation. So I want people to say, hey, there's good in all of these things. There's good in EVs. There's good in artificial intelligence. There's good in robotics. There's good in automation. If everything that comes up that's new, we shoot holes in from everybody across the board, and we make some things so radioactive that people don't even really feel like advancing them. I saw when I was on vacation, I saw a news article about a solar farm that got hit with hail and the solar panels got damaged, right? And then obviously the comments were, well, look how delicate they are. These solar panels already took 20 years to pay themselves back. Look, they're all damaged. They can't even hold up to any hailstorm. And I'm like, okay, well, what other stuff broke? You think maybe a car windshield got smashed in with some hail? Should we say that, hey, cars are too delicate? Look at it all getting smashed up. I mean, we're in this position where we're in the high grass, and we're just waiting for something we don't like, for something to go wrong, and we're springing up, and we're just vocally tearing down things that are in that. We're just all waiting for that, and it's just the most annoying thing. So I wanted to bring that up. It happens a lot with EVs, but it's not exclusive to EVs. All the brand new stuff is, for some reason, in the political crosshairs. If I could decouple innovations in politics, I absolutely would in 2 seconds, because I think politics ruins anything that it touches. So if it says it likes you or says it doesn't like you, you're dead, because you obviously now are just part of somebody's team instead of letting science and physics and innovations happen organically. Now it's a different thing, and I hate that. I just wanted to gripe about that for a second or two. It's been a while since I've been here, so got to get this off my chest. And that's one thing that you have when you're sitting behind the steering wheel of an RV. You have lots of time to think. And you know what you can't do when you're driving a motorhome? You can't be on your phone. You can't be doing anything except for thinking. Because there's, and I'll tell you this, like if you knew the gas mileage that I got on this trip, it was crazy stupid. I cannot wait till I have an electric motorhome because this was just crazy. So when I was going across Oklahoma and Texas, you know how flat that is. Like there's not many mountains. I got the worst gas mileage on the flattest ground that there is. And that the reason was because of wind. The wind was absolutely terrible on this flat ground. I got worse gas mileage. I think I averaged about 3.7 miles per gallon. That's 3.7 miles per gallon in the wind. And I got about 6.5 to 7 miles per gallon in the mountains when I was going up steep inclines. Blew my mind, like exactly opposite. I was like, I can't wait to get to the Iowas and these flatlands so I can make up some gas mileage. And then when I get to the mountains, I know I'm going to be, getting hammered here. And it was exactly the opposite. So I want to get into electric motorhomes because I hate spending that much on fuel and having that little fuel efficiency over a course of a trip. Still better than all the other trips, cruises and using airplanes and whatever, but still. Anyway, back to the, let me mention, if you have any needs, tech needs, that is, please give Youngstown Computer a call. One of my companies and the show that provides this programming for you. We really appreciate it. Those in our listening audience that, mark our number down on a sticky note, put it on the side of your computer, which I know a lot of you don't have desktops, or laptops, but here's the thing. You can get involved by having us do Wi-Fi installs, backing up your data. Maybe you want to get, hook up some Ring doorbells or having some surveillance and security cameras hooked up. All of this is tech-based, and it's all stuff that our team can handle. So either residential, commercial services, give our office a call, get something scheduled. We can, the commercial side is sort of like managed IT. So you're a big enough company that you have computers, but you don't have enough computer stuff to keep a full-time person busy. All you have to do, we figure out how much time is necessary. Sometimes it's a weekly visit. Sometimes it's a monthly visit, all depending on the stuff that you'd like us to cover for you. And then we are your IT staff. We also have break fix emergency calls so that when something happens within 2 hours, one of our people show up and we fix whatever's going wrong, get you back up and running again. And then after things have settled down, then we can come in and fix and create more insulation between bad things happening and your company, because outages are the worst and data loss is the worst. And so you just tell our guys where you think you're most vulnerable, where you think what keeps you up at night, and then we'll put together a solution that solves that problem. If you don't know where you're vulnerable, have our guys come in, we'll assess it all. We'll look at it through the eyes of, what likely happens with power outages and natural disasters and hacks and infections and whatever. And we'll create a list of installations that you can choose from. Anyway, 330-259-7278 is the phone number for Youngstown Computer. Write that number down, stick it on the side of your computer case. And then when that need comes, we'd really appreciate the phone call. You can also check out youngstowncomputer.com or on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and check us out and ask us questions and get something set up there. You can also book your appointment on youngstowncomputer.com. So thanks again. Appreciate it. And phone number one more time, 330-259-7278. Okay. I enjoyed, this was a good comeback show. I liked that we hit the ground running and the first show back in 6 weeks. And we got to talk a lot about a lot of national stuff, as well as answering people's questions. And I know sometimes, like, we're in the midst of talking about some national thing, calling about your flash drive or your printer install or whatever seems like you're going to throw me off track, but you're not. That kind of stuff, this show is cool because you can just, I will respond to questions no matter where they hit me from. So if it's important to you, I'll make it important to me. So make sure that you make sure that you call. I've got back-to-back weeks that we're going to be doing the show without an interruption. So I think throughout the summer, you're going to get a load more of me. I think my next trip isn't until like September, so we should have some good programming between now and then. One of our earlier callers was talking about switching service providers, and I want to know how many of the rural, any of you in the rural areas of Northeast Ohio have given Starlink a shot. It's my go-to. Like when I travel to these national parks, I set up my Starlink satellite and I have internet, no matter where I'm at. And I thought that like you take the thing, if you have an open sky, cool. But a lot of times you go to these motorhome parks and they've got trees everywhere, keep everything cool. Well, how's that work when you have a satellite dish pointing up to a tree, a big obstruction that's sitting in front of you? So when I was in Zion, you point this thing to the north sky, and there was a tree in the north sky. So I was like, I don't care. I'm going to see what happens. Set it up, just pointing at this tree. And of course, it reported an obstruction, but it only had an interruption once every 10 minutes. And if you look, I took this picture of it. If you look at this picture, it doesn't look like that it has 1% of unobstructed view, but somehow the signal made its way through the leaves, and it only counted every once in a while when the satellite would go behind one of the branches, I guess. But it was just amazing. I've never had any kind of problem, no matter where I pointed this thing at the sky. So pretty good product. 330-729-9977. Text me, 333-1570. We'll be right back. This is the Youngstown Computer Show.
Are you a business owner, CEO, or responsible for marketing? If you are, iHeartMedia can help you reach your goals and find new customers. We reach more consumers in your target area than anyone else. And we can give you access to those potential customers more cost effectively across radio, digital, podcasting, and social. We'd love to show you how iHeartMedia can work for you. From your cell, dial pound 250 and say keyword great results. That's pound 250 and say great results.
Are you shopping for a great pre-owned deal? If so, then get to the sale at your locally owned Stadium GM Pre-Owned Superstore. Right now, we've got over $3 million of inventory on our huge lot, all on sale. We've got cars starting from just $4,000, SUVs from $5,000, and a great selection of trucks at $6,000. To see it all, go to stadiumgm.com, fill out your credit app, and then stop out to the locally owned store where Zero Down delivers every day. The Stadium GM Pre-Owned Superstore in Salem.
Need money for after-school and educational programs for your child? Qualifying families can receive $1,000 per child through Ohio's after-school child enrichment accounts. Funds received by a parent or guardian can be used on a number of educational activities, including tutoring, day camps and field trips, language and music lessons, and much more. You can find the full list of how funds can be spent and begin the process of receiving your educational account. Find out if your family qualifies by visiting aceohio.org today.
Sponsored by the Ohio Department of Education, aired by OAB and this station.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the Ohio Lottery's Powerball jackpot, rocketing skyward all the way to $590 million. Wow, winning that sure would be super. What are you waiting for? Get your Powerball ticket today. And remember, Ohio Lottery scratch-offs pay out over $4.5 million daily. So pick up a few of the newest games, too. Lottery players are subject to Ohio Laws and Commission regulations. Play responsibly.
The following message is brought to you by Kardia, makers of the world's leading personal EKG devices.
We pulled people off the street and asked them about their heart. How's your heart?
Good.
You sure?
I think so.
How do you know? It doesn't come with a manual and you're like, oh, I got the 20,000-day checkup, right?
With Kardia Mobile, you can take a medical-grade EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere. Kardia Mobile is a small device about the size of a stick of gum. Simply put your fingers on the electrodes, and your EKG is recorded right onto your phone. Kardia Mobile is proven to detect atrial fibrillation, one of the leading causes of stroke.
How much do you think this costs?
Probably in the hundreds.
$79.
Oh, wow.
That could be cheaper than a tank of gas.
Checking your heart anytime, anywhere has never been easier. Don't wait. Get Kardia Mobile today for yourself or for a loved one. It's just $79 at Kardia.com. That's Kardia.com. And when you order now, you'll get 10% off Kardia Mobile. Just enter 10 off Kardia at checkout. Also available on Amazon.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
Rover's Morning Glory.
It's the Woody Show.
It's Elliot in the morning.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
All of the best free curated playlists.
It's everything that rocks.
All of the great podcasts for every interest.
This is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing content.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. Download the absolutely free iHeartRadio app now.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the final little segment of the Youngstown Computer Show for today. Phone number 330-729-9977 if you want to get a little last thing in. That last commercial that was playing about that Cardia mobile deal, I have a theory here that I think like one of the most useful artificial intelligence that we're going to get in the short term is the ability for the algorithms to check vitals and health information and to be able to circulate back at you almost like what you would do as your family doctor does a review with you, some kind of do blood tests and blood work and whatever. If we've got these sensors that we can wear on our body, then real-time information of what's really going on can be sent to the algorithm to be able to see if there's anything applicable. If there's a condition that it looks like there's precursors for, you can have real-time advisories that's happening just not from a real person, but just from a computer system. So one of my business partners and his wife, who we traveled with last week, they have these sensors that they put on their arm. So if you look at them, looks like this big black oval patch. And in the center of the big black oval patch, it made a piercing into the skin and has a probe that can touch blood, right? And so this thing can monitor glucose and oxygen levels and a myriad of other things. And you get this app on your phone that can do these kind of readings in real time. So the sensors are starting to grow up a little bit where they're more capable. And in the future, medical might be something that technology is doing more than human beings. There might be less doctors and more, medical AIs out there. So let's go to Mike real quick. Mike, you're on the Youngstown Computer Show. How can I help you?
Hey, you were talking about Starlink, and
yeah,
I don't have Starlink, but I used to have Frontier for internet service.
Yeah,
and I actually just got T-Mobile probably back in October now, and I didn't think we could get it. I just live a little north of Minerva, and I just wanted to say to anybody looking for an alternative internet supplier, definitely check out T-Mobile and see if it's in your area.
Now, is it any data caps or what's your monthly fee for it?
So it's $50 and there's no data caps. The speed is about 100 down and I'd say 15 to 20 up. And like I said, it's for $50. And with Frontier, we were getting about 1 megabyte down and about 0.22 up.
Oh, that's beautiful. Great deal. We're running out of time, but thank you for that information. Appreciate you calling in, letting our listeners know about that. And so both cellular and satellite are options for those of you who are disconnected a little bit from rural America, from the cities. But those cellular and satellite are good options. So thank you for listeners everywhere. Thank you for tuning in for this program. We'll see you next week. Now you've listened to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. Take care.